Hello, everyone, to the Radio Club DIU podcast alumni series. We are back again with another alumni from, I guess, 2013 batch, if I'm not wrong.
13, 15. Yeah.
Yeah,
15
13, 15 batch. Yeah, 15 graduate. And yeah, he has a interesting background. He's worked 10 years in consulting, and then now he has his own startup from a few years, Orbrick Consulting. He has also written a book called Tiny Transformations. And yeah, he's a really interesting person. He was in three clubs or more, I guess. I don't know. He was in Radio Club, he was in Heritage Club, he was in Debate Club. So
I used to
yeah, I
get
think
Crash Music Club when they let me. I didn't do anything or play anything, but I just like to hang out there. I used to be in Press Club. Most clubs. I've managed to crash most of them
yeah.
at one
So
point or another.
I think we have a lot to learn from you. And yeah, he has had 10 years of consulting experience in Oracle as well. Yeah. So how did you think of transitioning from a stand good consulting job and you know getting your own startup? Like, it's a big risk and you have a stable career as well. So how did you think of it? How did you Yeah, I mean, there is also a thing that, how do we gather the self belief that, oh, am I stupid, or am I is it yeah, we were discussing that day also, contrarian ideas. How do you generate belief in your contrarian ideas? So yeah.
So it's an interesting way to phrase that question. So first of all, thank you for having the book shown. I don't even know if I have a copy, so thanks for having that. RC has that. That's really kind of them to include it in the catalog. To your question of how do you convince yourself that you're not stupid, I don't think that's what I did. I still pretty much think I am very, very stupid, and it's a stupid thing to do to start a new company. But I will give a lot of credit to the like I got campus recruited by the company that was an Oracle partner. It was one of the largest in the world more than 10 years ago. And I would give a lot of credit to them as well, because my current startup is in a similar, it's doing similar things. It's in a similar field. It's in the same large field as such. And so the fact that in 10 years I could learn enough to be pretty confident that at least I know how to run this show is something that, you have to give them credit for. It's still, as I said, it's still stupid. It's still a little, it's extremely risky. But you do it because you think the failure would be worth the risk rather than the reward would be worth the risk. So we had a professor at DA called Dr. Gagan Garg. He used to say this to us. One of his assignments used to be, think of a problem that you cannot solve. That's your assignment. I'll grade you on how close you come to solving it, because you would be very confident that you can't solve it. But the idea was how close do you get to that state, and that's what the grading was on. And incidentally, a lot of people actually managed to solve their impossible assignments. So those were a different. Like my batch had a lot of those kind of people as well. I'm not one of those people, but at least it does tell you that certain problems should just be taken up because they're worth trying, and worth doing, rather than from the idea of, oh, I'll be successful if I do this. Maybe I won't be, but you would have lived a full life uh, in your failure. So that's okay. That's a reward in itself. And we're
Yeah.
doing okay. So so another thing. So the second part of this answer is I had a team going with me. So it was not just me who started the company. In fact, I joined in a little later. The major risk was already taken by some people who had even more experience and more time in the industry than me. And I was doing what I know how to do. So it's not like I'm starting a company right off college and I don't have any idea of, how to run a company and what happens. I have to learn everything by mistakes. I've already learned a lot by other people's mistakes, and I already have other people who've learned a lot in their journeys, which have been longer than mine. So it's in that sense, it's a much more structured. So although we're a startup, we run like a large organization because we have run large organizations before. So that way, it's more calculated risk as well. You're not completely out in the water. But yeah, those are two things. So one, I think it'll the chance of success is higher because we know what we're doing. And second, even if it doesn't succeed, you still tried something and there's fun in that. So why not?
Yeah, so it's kind of a leap of faith, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, yeah. But we've played Assassin's Creed, so hopefully there's hay at the bottom.
Yeah, right. Again, thinking of talking of stupidity. Yeah, I mean, we don't necessarily have to convince ourselves that I'm not stupid, but yeah, the idea is worth the risk. That is something that I guess I mean, you have had a lot of consulting experience, so I guess you know what is calculated risk. But so could you share some ideas? How do we take calculated risk for, like, as a student, as a, somebody who is starting his or her career?
So one thing that I keep telling people, right off the back of a degree, you might not have enough to take a calculated risk, because in order to have risk, you need to have some cushion, some ability to absorb risk. So one thing I tell people is, do whatever you're doing, just make sure that you save up and invest early, because compounding really helps you. So in my case, for example, I learned this lesson very late, but I did have tools of investment that I'd done. I lived, what I used to do was, every time I get a promotion and a salary hike, I would assume that I haven't. And whatever salary hike I got, I would invest that in, mutual funds, or whatever investment vehicle I would pick that year. And every 2 years, I would inflate my life. So my lifestyle inflation was sort of slower than my actual earning. And that had created a cushion that was enough for me to take a strong risk in terms of, hey, okay, if I lose all this money, I still have enough to eat. Second, I think another mindset that's really helped me is being from DA. I always had confidence that if I call up 10 alumni, 8 of them would give me some offer. If I just say, दीदी ये नहीं हो रहा है मेरे से, I need a job, अब भैया ये देखो ये तो फट गया, अब क्या कर सकते हैं. I was pretty sure that they might say, okay, maybe you make 50 lakhs, 40 lakhs, whatever. I'm going to give you 6, but you will eat. So I've always had that confidence that you have a network of people who are well wishers by default. You don't even have to know them. There's a certain amount of people from DA, people from my old company, alumni, wherever you have an alumni status, you have some connection to the people, and you have enough folks at enough places to kind of cushion your fall a little bit. And as I said, I had enough resources saved up so that it didn't feel like it's the end of everything if something doesn't work. That's important. So you have to create a runway for yourself. That's how you work in a business as well. So in a business, you would want to create a runway that if you stop making money, you have enough to survive as is, without having to reduce headcount, without having to cut costs for a period of time. And that runway should be at least a year or 2 years. Longer in business, but at least from a personal point of view, 6 months of 6 months of what you spend every month should at least be your savings that you have for emergencies. If you want to take bigger risks, the runway has to be larger.
Yeah, right. Contingencies.
Contingency. And the second aspect of how you take, how do you decide which risk to take? I'm not too much of a, believer in spirituality and stuff like that, but there is this book called Ikigai, which has a good
Yeah.
framework for it. So it's like, what the world needs, what are you good at, what makes money, and a combination of all of that will give you, if you are uniquely positioned to do something. I use a different framework. I have a framework that comes from design thinking, which talks about testing an idea on 3 levels: desirability, viability, and feasibility. So desirability is this idea good? Like, would people want to have what I'm doing? Feasibility is it possible? So I would love to have wings and fly around, but I can't. That's not feasible. So feasibility. And then viability is it a good idea for me to pursue it? Is it something that I can sustain for long? If it fits these three things, it's probably a good risk to take. Of course, the final thing being, what is the value at the end of it? How much value can you create and how much value can you capture?
Yeah, right. And yeah, you've also worked on AI, right? Yeah, you have created
I head
something.
the AI department, yeah, for my company, right?
Yeah, you had created some educational AI, I guess.
Educational AI. I
Something
wanted to
related
do
to
a
that.
startup in education when I was in DA. So me and a classmate of mine and I tried something out, but we didn't pursue it for very long. Right now, we need AI to help Oracle customers do more from their investments, but that's not exactly education.
AI tutor for Oracle Fusion users. Yeah.
Yes, we do have that. So we have a tool that actually helps users learn how to use the ERP system. It's called Oracle Fusion. So it just helps. So it's sort of like if you've seen the Google Studio, where you can share your screen and talk to Gemini. It's similar to that. So you can just share your screen and talk to it and ask it questions, and it can guide you on using the system. So yeah, that's a tool we have.
Yeah, so what is your opinion on current AI situation and how things are going? Especially Anthropic, leaked its code a few days ago.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Kind of fortunate
I
as
don't
well,
know.
but debatable.
I think any IP that leaks is unfortunate because they've put in a lot of work to build that IP and somebody's just cloning it in 5 minutes using the same AI is unfortunate. Even if it's like the Robin Hood mentality, right? We feel it's okay to steal from the rich because the poor are benefiting, but the rich also had to work, they had to pass compliance, they had to pass tests. So
Yeah,
they're
right.
also human. I feel
Yeah.
bad for the poor guy who was fired because it was his fault. And he quite candidly admitted it as well. Like, it's an unfortunate situation overall for them. How AI is going, I don't know. So AI has gone through a lot of winters in the past 70 years. So there's been a lot of periods of high excitement. And then when it doesn't do what people feel it promised, there's a winter and you can no longer have investments in AI. I think this might be the first time we break through that barrier. Although I am concerned that from a financial standpoint, it might, and I'm not a financial expert. So this is something that I still don't have a solid opinion on, but it seems like there is a possibility that we are overestimating a lot of these things and we might be over investing in things. So it'll depend on, how it'll depend on timing. So a lot of companies are putting in a lot of money. Whether they start getting returns on time or whether they go bankrupt before the ROI hits in, that's going to be interesting to see. But I do think that technology is here to stay. So we can argue about its social impact. We can argue about its financial impacts, whether it's a bubble, not a bubble. But the technology is very real. I don't think LLMs are the answer to everything. We need to go beyond LLMs because language inherently is not how we think. So if you're trying to create a true replica of human intelligence, it cannot just be in language because you can think without language, which means it's not something that you depend on. But I think we are making progress. It's going to stay. It's a long term bet, and everything's going to change because of it.
Okay. Another contrarian idea.
I don't know if it's contrarian anymore. I mean, everybody's like fascinated. You might have heard this thing that says any technology that's sufficiently advanced will be indistinguishable from magic. I think that's what happened. That is what is happening with AI. And a lot of people just feel like it can do anything. And that's why I think AI literacy is very important. Everybody has to understand the max behind it just enough to understand that it's just a bunch of additions and subtractions that are getting this result. So you shouldn't over rely on it either. But yeah, it's really powerful though. It's beautiful in a way.
Yeah, right. But what about the negative impacts, like, workers, yeah, coding not being a job 10 years from now. And yeah, these people claim, right? And also now AI is a part of US military as well. I don't know which one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's being used by most militaries. Yeah, so I think that's inevitable. I don't think that there's an option. I don't think countries have if a country adopts a stand that we're not going to adopt technology because it will displace workers and therefore we will just not take it. I think it's going to lose out in the long run because the world has global effects. So you don't really have that option anymore to localize some protection is the idea. When we say it's going to have a large impact on the workforce, I think that is inevitable and that happened earlier as well, right? You don't see a lot of horses around. Automobiles have been able to
Yeah.
replace those. Drones will replace delivery workers eventually. That's the march of progress. Whether it's a good progress or not, that's debatable. Gandhi used to say there's more to life than increasing its speed. So I agree. But the answer is not to stop the technology. The answer is to adapt the workforce. We have to make more jobs for people. Regulation has to think in those terms. And I think the technology is going to keep marching ahead, whether you are the one who's making progress or somebody else is.
Yeah, right. I agree. Because, yeah, I mean, even when computers came and calculators came, right, accountants were no longer a thing.
Yeah.
Same with tailors as well, I guess. Tailors for before 2000s, they were a thing. Tailoring was considered a good job, and now
Yeah.
it's still a good job, but not that pop, not that many
Yeah.
tailors we see.
Yeah.
A good way to look at it. Most people don't look at it that way. They are kind of fearful that my job will go away. But I guess that's a good way to learn adaptation, I guess. Adaptability is very important, I guess, to be, able to succeed, let's say. Yeah. So still, but there are a lot of CS graduates and they are going to be increasing as time goes on. So yeah, any advice for the students here? And because there is a lot of focus on DSA and competitive programming. Yeah, that just grunt work. kind of it feels very mechanical to me at least. Just
Mm,
keep solving problems which are very abstract, let's say, not very practical in day-to-day life. So
mm.
that thing, yeah, I mean, people don't understand the like computer science core, if you understand what I'm saying, the OS, and yeah, a lot of things hard. People are not interested in hardware and communication subjects as well. Even
Mm.
mathematics, core mathematics, people are not interested. So yeah, do you have any opinions, comments on that?
Yeah. So again, the whole AI wave is like it started in what, 2017 is when it started
Yeah,
it in its nascency, and it took, a full swing around 2022, 2023 is when agentic things started just emerging. Basically, your guess is as good as mine. I'm just looking beyond the curtain a little bit, right? So anybody who claims to have an idea into the future is either lying or delusional. We don't know what the future is going to look like exactly. We can make our best guesses and we can try to give opinions around, what might work. And at least I think what will work is we have to go really high integrity. Human things that are harder to replace by AI. So opinions, for example, how do you form your convictions? How broadly do you see things? So you mentioned that people are not interested in OS or hardware. That used to be fine because you could have one core skill earlier, and that core skill, if you're really, really good at that one thing, you would be, you'd survive easy, right? Now I think the more narrow your work is, the more definable your work is, the more replaceable your work becomes. So
yeah,
if you're just doing code, I'm going to be able to, hire a model to do it faster than you. I'm not saying that it will replace you, but it will definitely eat up the number of jobs that are there. So I might still need a few people who actually oversee the model, but I would not need as many people, and it's so much easier to replicate. So the I think the future would be kinder to people who have a bigger view of things, who can see things end to end, who know how the mechanics of a system work, how each individual component comes into the whole, and how that impacts business or government or environment or whatever problem it is that you're trying to solve. That's going to be key, so that you can be one person who works with 10 agents and solve a real problem. So you're already moving from, uh, earlier you used to bill on hours. So how the industry works is, if you're doing a custom software development for somebody, for example, they would say, okay, it will take 500 hours, these level of, or these cadre of workers, we are going to multiply that hourly rate with the number of hours that it will take, and that's your bill. I think that model is dead. People haven't realized it yet, so it's still going on in the industry, but it's just a matter of time where it's dead. It's going to be outcomes. So they're going to say, okay, I want this done, go do it. It doesn't matter if you use 10 people or you use 10 agents. I want this piece of work within this price point. So the inevitability of it is that you're going to use agents, and you can only use agents if you see the full picture. So the view from the top, knowing a lot of different things, sampling a lot of different things, I think that becomes more crucial. And second, I think it was Palantir's CEO who recently said that there are two kinds of people who will survive the AI era. The first kind are people who are like very handy, like plumbers, electricians, who are doing things where the cost of robotics is higher than the cost of labor. It's not cheap enough to replace an electrician with a robot. That's why they are going to survive. And second, the kind of people who are a bit neurodivergent, who think a little differently, who don't have the same patterns that AI was trained on. And that, so in other words, creativity, right? So creativity is combining things. So you have to learn a broad
yeah.
scope of things to do it.
Decision making as well, I guess.
Decision making. So in the 70s, IBM used to have a slide that they used to show on a lot of their consulting engagements. It used to say, a computer cannot be held accountable for a management decision. Therefore, a computer should not take a management decision. So it's the same with AI right now, where if your accountability cannot be with the agent, you need a person just to be accountable. So therefore, they have to be, as I said, there is a certain level of usefulness of integrity and ethics that will come into the whole picture as well. Because you can't expect ethics or integrity from a model. It will do what you ask it to do. So who do you put power in the hands of is going to be a crucial aspect of it. And the second is just the ability to take critical decisions, to actually be accountable for those decisions. That's going to be a big one as well. So the human in the loop has to be a responsible human. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Just give me a second. I guess there is loud music
Sure.
going on. बाजू वाले room में.
Oh, that's good. That's great.
Yeah, so let
I
me
can't hear
just.
it much though. Yeah.
What is it?
Oh, I can now. I can now.
वो माइक मेरा माइक Anyways, yeah. Is the camera angle good?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
I can see you.
when I look at the camera, I can't look at the screen, so I don't know.
हाँ, वो तो मेरा भी ऐसा है। मेरा कैमरा ऊपर माउंटेड है। I have to look
Yeah,
like this.
if it is at your eye level, it would be better if you can.
मुश्किल है। I can go a
All
little
right,
bit
no worries.
behind.
And that's better actually. Not a big issue. Just we had taken a break, so I think we just tell you. Good to go?
Yeah, I can try एक लैपटॉप वाला स्क्रीन ऑल्सो तो कैमरा चेंज दिस बेटर
Yeah, this is better. Huh, no worries. Yeah, right. I guess, generalists are now more rewarded. I guess they were more rewarded back in the day as well. But now it's more apparent that generalists are more.
Yeah. So I have a concept I explain to a lot of my when I train batches that you have to be an excellent average. So that's it's not enough to be a generalist, right? It's an average person is like they can do a lot of things a little well. An excellent average is somebody I would define as someone who's really good at a lot of things. And so that's the oversimplification. When we say generalist, the expectation we are setting is yeah, they have to be okay at a lot of things. But that's not enough anymore. You have to be really good at a lot of things. So you have to be an excellent average.
Yeah, a good generalists.
A very good generalist.
Yeah. The Yeah, knowing a lot of things and factoring it in decision making, I guess
Correct.
that's what makes a good decision maker. How was your experience here at Debate Society? अभी तो participation बहुत कम हो गया है, so any words to encourage students?
I think the single most useful skill I have applied consistently to my work is debating. So, in fact, that is one of the values that I bring. And I think one reason that my colleagues, when they were starting the company, they invited me to join was we don't want everyone to agree. So, it's one of our fundamental values at the company as well that if everybody agrees with something, one person's job, and typically that falls on me, has to be to disagree. Luckily, I naturally disagree with most things. So if you say day, I say night. That's a learned behavior now. And the idea of that is not to just disagree; it's to make sure that what we are agreeing on is fully battle tested. So the church had a position called the devil's advocate, right? That's where the term comes from. But the idea is to just hone your own opinions against the fire of opposition. And so that skill is an extremely important critical thinking skill, and it's an extremely important way to grow in your career where you're able to put your point across, articulate things in a limited time, and argue for ideas that are good. Because it's my firmly held belief that good ideas die because of bad debaters. And a lot of good ideas have died because their champions were not strong enough to bring that idea to life and convince people that idea was the right idea. So I think debating just helps you hone that skill. So does writing. So a lot of clubs, you like in a combination, they do that. But I think debating is where it's most explicit because sometimes you're debating things that you don't believe. So you're proposing something or you're the proposition for an idea that you personally don't believe in and you're still having to argue from that. So it creates that level of empathy before you cross over and shake hands. And that's the other part of it, right? That you don't take anything personally. It's just a battleground of ideas. So there's a lot of learning there. So I would say people should try to do it. It's a useful skill and it's going to be more useful in the future with all this AI and everything coming in. If you want to be a really good generalist, you need to learn how to articulate your ideas better.
Yeah, right. You are really articulate, I would say.
I'm really talkative. That's what a lot of people would say. But yeah, thank you.
I guess there is a difference between talkative and articulate. Getting ideas in a way, framing, using words in a way that it's comprehensible to someone, and it's not that it's so. As a listener, my job is reduced in a
Yeah.
way because I don't have to piece different threads together. It's already kind of woven.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that is what articulation is. Talkative is, yeah, I guess
No,
a
but
lot of articulation.
no, things like debate club and so debating is a form of thinking. Writing is a form of thinking. So I think now, especially with writing, right? Nowadays everybody's just doing AI to write and AI to read. So it's just AI models reading what other AI models wrote. That's dangerous because if you outsource that activity, if you're Enteleki or whatever magazine you have now, if it's just a bunch of emojis and M dashes written by ChatGPT, there's no value in it. A reader should not spend more time reading than the writer spent writing. And what we are inevitably doing is we are kind of blunting out our brains. by really not exercising that. So it's like our bodies, right? If the same thing happened, which is why you need gyms now. I think with AI we are going to need a lot more libraries, because that's exactly what's happening with our brains and your bodies. You can still kind of, like, you don't need to run from a tiger anymore. So if your body is a little bit weaker, I think that you would still survive in life. Sadly, your health might not be as good, but you'd still survive in life. But if your brain is a little bit weaker, I think that's the end of it, because you will not survive the modern age with a subpar brain. And the only way to create a brain that is not subpar is actually to use it and exercise it regularly. And for that, you need to write your own emails and write your own papers, write your own code, not copy from ChatGPT, at least while you're learning. And then you can copy away, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, actually, people are not actually doing anything. Like they are writing three-liner emails from
Yeah.
AI. I'm like, bro, it's 3 lines. Even with all the assignments and everything, people are. I mean, even I use AI,
No,
but
I'm sure everyone
uh,
does. And it's very easy to justify, right? Because, oh, I have a deadline, I had no choice. But it didn't
yeah,
exist last year. People were still able to finish their deadline. So I don't know. It's a slippery slope. And that's why I would encourage people to do more critical thinking and join Debate Love. Free endorsement. It's a great way to think through things.
yeah. At least there you can't have AI,
Yeah.
but yeah, eventually you have to debate with AI, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a good way to learn as well. So if you feel shy, you could just tell AI to become your debating partner and sharpen your thinking skills. It's a very good tool to learn, to brainstorm. Unfortunately, we are skipping all that and going to the output. But if we use it to teach us stuff, it's like the world's greatest teacher available to you for free. Why don't you use it for that?
Yeah, same with, I guess, every piece of
Yeah,
technology, right?
yeah,
So phones and laptops and
yeah.
everything. You can game on a laptop, code as well. So yeah, I guess that would be there with everything, right?
That's true. But it's most amplified with this, I feel. Like with everything else, it's a little under the rug. Yeah, it just shines a huge halogen light on it.
Yeah, right. Even now with AI generated videos and all, yeah, videos, images. Coming back to the AI tutor that you created. So what is your opinion on impact on AI on education?
So we actually have a podcast. We have a channel called The Orbit Road. It's on Spotify and everywhere. It's our company's podcast where we interviewed a career professor who teaches AI. He's now doing things in the industry, really cool things in the industry actually. Dr. Dhwanilnath Dharekhan. So if you check that podcast out, we actually talk about the impact of AI in education because he's more qualified talking about it than I am. What I'm seeing as a recruiter, I can tell you that I think
Sure.
as I said, I think it is numbing down some brains and the patience you need to kind of think through things that's going down. So we are seeing a lot more cheating happening across the board. People are doing, they don't understand what they've written. So they would submit an assignment with a code. And if you ask them to explain it, they have no clue. And those things, they permanently damage your reputation. It's not just that you'll not be hired. You'll also not, like, anytime somebody sees you, they'll think less of you. If you're the one who saw that, you'll remember it, and it's not a pleasant thing to do. So I don't know why people are doing it. It's basic integrity, across the board. That's one. The second is some people, like, very, like, a shorter proportion, very smaller proportion, like 1 or 2% of people are really blowing up. Like what they're doing is they're actually using AI to learn so much more, to do so much more, and they're doing amazing things with it.
Yeah, right.
So that population is really of interest to us as recruiters, because those are the kind of people who would come in and just start, building things. And they don't make any excuses. They're just like, yeah, I have AI, I have everything I need. I'm going to go ahead and build this. This is a problem. I'm going to go attack it. I don't need to know how to solve it because I have the world's most powerful teacher in my pocket. So I'm just going to ask, how do I do that? And that's so much similar to what, there's this famous story that Elon Musk taught himself how to build rockets because he's not a rocket scientist. But he did that because he thought, okay, I need to do it. Just imagine if he had Grok or whatever his AI he's working on at that time, it would have compressed the timeline for him to build SpaceX. So it's kind of like that. It's really a leverage, and all leverage can cut both ways. So if you utilize leverage properly, just a little bit of effort can get you really far. And if you don't do it, then it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, right. I mean, I guess there will be changes in education as well. More and more professors are frustrated with AI generated assignments.
Yeah.
So I guess they'll find their ways of optimizing for non-AI generated work.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing is like a lot of professors check assignments using AI as well, right? So that's a little bit that's a two-way street. But I think the nature of assignment has to change. So a lot of it has to go back to, if you want to test people, number one, it has to go back to like offline devices rather than online tests. It might be pen and paper might be the best way to avoid people cheating.
Yeah,
Second is
right.
the nature of assignment has to change, right? Why do we need to test people on their memory if memory is no longer relevant? So we need to understand what actually now matters.
Yeah,
How do you measure those things? How do you measure creativity? How do you measure the ability to understand things very quickly? How measure the ability to look at the bigger picture? And then you test them on that and let AI be a part of it. So let everybody use AI, and just because if everyone's using AI, and you'd still see differences in output. That means there are some people who are better at doing what matters than everybody else. So that becomes the criteria to judge.
yeah, right. Understandable. What I think is, there was a time when information was valuable. I guess it was my
Google. Yeah.
the generation before me,
Yeah. Yeah.
millennials. So yeah, at that time, when mobiles came out, then internet came out, it was like information was the before that. Having information, having access to information was very important. It was considered a good way to ensure success in a way. But yeah, now it's not information. It's more decision making. It's more adaptability. It's more how we look at the world. It's more about perspectives, opinions,
Yeah.
and not information. Yeah, I mean, information is available everywhere. It's the discretion that which information is useful, which is not.
Yeah, and it is also, so intelligence is now available everywhere. So knowledge became a commodity a long time ago. As soon as
Yeah,
you had Google, you had knowledge on your fingertips. So knowledge was not really a major differentiator. It was the application of it. It was applied knowledge. It was synthesizing it. It was intelligence. I think now, if you bring intelligence as a commodity, then it depends. Like one answer to what matters now is taste. Taste is the ability to discern quality, right? So it is the ability to decide
yeah,
where you want to apply your intelligence, how you want to apply your intelligence, and whether the intelligence applied is at a standard or not. So that's one way to look at it. Another could be wisdom. You know what not to do now, so you think of that. Or it could be optimizing that intelligence for better cost. There are a lot of different pathways in Destiny's Garden, so to speak. But which one you pick will decide where we end up in the future. But at least now the cost of intelligence has gone down drastically. So yeah, you're right. So what you typically got paid for. So I remember when I was growing up, it was AI was all about, it's going to displace all the blue collar workers. It's going to change the world. Only knowledge work will survive. And incidentally, we knowledge workers are the first crowd that it's coming for. It's gunning for now, because the most easy people to replace are people who are in knowledge work. Lawyers, radiologists is what was famously predicted, and I know he gets a lot of criticism for predicting it wrong, but I'm pretty sure they'll get there. Us, right, consultants. Consulting is going through a upheaval because you used to charge for knowledge and now intelligence, because it was collecting a lot of knowledge, synthesizing it, and giving you a report. I can do that with Perplexity in like 10 minutes. I don't need a consultant for it. So I can get 70% of the way there. I just need you for the last 30%. So you don't need 100 people, you need 30 people by simple maths, if you oversimplify it. So yeah, it's going to be
yeah.
tough for knowledge workers, I feel. And so we have to pivot into something else, something that uses AI to go even further up than we have been able to go before.
Any recommendations for me?
For
Where should I go?
for you, I think difficult. It is going to be tumultuous few years, I think. But think of it like a calculator, right? When calculators came, there was a lot of upheaval. A lot of accountants probably lost their job. But then new jobs are created. You have to think of what will last you the next 5 6 years. I don't think there's any point of thinking beyond 5 6 years, because like people do 10-year planning, but 10 year में तो यार दुनिया nuke हो जाएगी ऐसा लगता है कुछ. That is too far off. Uh, and this is something I've learned from my old company CEO, that you don't set a goalpost that much in the future that it looks like a dot. You set like 3 year plans and pivot every 3 years. That's enough. You don't look beyond three years. So I would say think through like what are the kind of skills you want to acquire that'll really matter. be good at some things, really, really good at some things, be a little bit good at a lot of different things if possible. And the biggest problem with fresher hiring now is going to be justifying the value of hiring a fresher for the first 2 years or 3 years of their life. So I just wrote a case study on this. The problem that the industry faces at large, at least my industry, is that if I hire somebody at a junior position, it takes me 2 or 3 years to make them really productive. So the first 2 or 3 years is just an investment basically on my end.
Yeah.
Now, how do you subsidize that investment? Typically, you subsidize that investment by making them do documentation while they learn the product, while they learn consulting. Documentations, test scripts, a lot of manual stuff, coding a little bit here, there, translating certain ideas into code, R&D, stuff like that. I did an internal research and I think around 95% of that, 94% of that, you can do with AI. So it's really hard to justify hiring junior positions. The challenge with that is if I don't hire junior positions right now, in 3 years I will have no senior positions because everybody's going up and there's no backlog filling, right? So the industry as a whole might run into a talent shortage unless it kind of figures out how do we keep producing. The fresher hiring is down, I think 14 or 16% overall from last year. So those kind of statistics really scare me, because if you're as a whole, if you're not hiring people at an entry level, there is no way we will have people at a mid level, and those are people you still need. AI can't do replacing of those. So from your point of view, what you should be doing is how do I make myself deployable on day one, or how do I make myself useful on day one so that I can go to a company and say, you don't need to train me. You just start hiring me. I'll start making money for you, which means learning things like whatever the company needs, the scaffolding of that, right? Knowing how to use Git, knowing how to use, how do you test your work, stuff like that, how to write emails, how to talk, how to communicate your ideas. I also genuinely believe English is going to be the most important programming language after Mandarin. But yeah, for us, it's going to be English is going to be the biggest programming language of the century. Yeah, because I don't know if you know this, but a lot of AI models perform better with Chinese because Chinese uses less tokens because it's character based. So you have one token that covers, yeah. So it's just cheaper to
I've
code in
heard that.
Chinese. Yeah. But yeah, so I think the idea has to be that you become productive on day one and you work with maybe during internships, etc. You work with the company to figure out how do I start giving value on day one. That's the best bet I think would work right now.
We might as well say that, the bar for junior or
It
entry
has
level
gone up.
positions is increased.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% has. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, so I don't know. I was talking to another professor here as well. He was saying, we were discussing. So there is a kind of delay between the out campus hiring process and the in campus
Yeah.
hiring process. The in campus hiring process is still mostly DSA
Yeah.
and coding only oriented. But if you look at out campus hiring processes, they are more into how much production level code you've written.
Correct. Yeah. And which is where doing
Yeah.
projects would really help, like doing real projects where you try something out, learn. Generally, I've seen 4 people on the same project group, one person would have done, everybody else is just, enjoying themselves. So that will no longer work. You
Yeah.
need to do individual projects and actually learn things.
Yeah, there is this good meme that goes on about group projects, when so जब like मंदिर में we do आरती
Hmm.
and like चढ़ाते हैं, so people are like, Papa is doing all that and we are just touching hands.
Yeah.
So it's the same with group
True.
projects.
True. And recruiters know that,
Everybody is just
we know when you bluff. We just don't call it out.
yeah, right. So yeah, the bar. I don't know why does this happen. There is still a lot of focus on DSA,
I think
at
DSA is still
MNCs and
important.
all.
I mean, as I said, I do think that the mechanics of something, it's important to know the mechanics of something. It's a necessary condition. It's just not sufficient anymore. So you still need to do that, but you also need to do other things. It's not that you need to do something else instead of that. I still think that you need to know algorithms because otherwise, what did you learn in computer science if you don't know any computer science?
Yeah, basic DS. DSA is important, but the things DSA goes a bit beyond that.
Yeah.
Into CP and all. Yeah, people spend 2 years just doing CP, computer programming, code forces.
Yeah.
So they make it the center of their lives, at least career life at least.
And that formula might change. That might no longer work. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm betting on that only. Let's see how it goes. So, yeah, I was working on production level code recently, and
Yeah.
it was a real mess because like compiling my project code is like okay, it's easy, but compiling production level code, it took 20 minutes at my
Yeah.
laptop was just unusable.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And
It was
building for scale, you need to know, how do you set up a proxy, how do you set up scaling, how do you set up security. There's a lot of different components that go into making something real. Uh,
testing, sandboxing, a lot of things. Like, yeah, we just don't look at it as college
yeah,
students while doing software. I don't know. Yeah, I just noticed it when I was working on production code. Oh, there's a lot of things that are actually not TS.
yeah, yeah. Of course. In fact, most things are not deep. It's like you learning deep learning, right? You're not going to. You don't need to balance the weights of ChatGPT to call an API. Ultimately, it's an abstraction layer, and you are just dealing with the results. But it's good to know these things.
Yeah,
It's also very natural, right? I don't think when we were at college, we also knew what production code was, or I'm pretty sure you couldn't get any of us, even the best programmers, to really make a production level software. I think the easiest thing to do is just
yeah.
do what, have fun, like pick a problem and pick a problem you like, make something from it, just build things. The more you build, I think the easier it'll get to really, really apply knowledge that you're gaining and develop
Build
taste.
it yourself,
Yeah, exactly.
not using AI.
Yeah, not using AI or using AI, but not in the way that you were just doing copy and paste. You use it to learn what you're doing.
Yeah,
What do I need to do next? What do I need
debug,
to do
yes.
next? Yeah,
Yeah, one more thing, debugging was not a part of any syllabus except for like when I was learning
yeah,
for production code. Yeah, there is a lot of debugging that is there in the code itself. So
and it's
debugging,
a
there are
skill.
flags.
Yeah,
Yeah, putting flags at the right place, which only work when you like. Yeah, there is also like different builds for debugging. Anyways, it was a good
yeah.
experience. I guess I'm going a bit on the tangent, but yeah.
Yeah, I think debugging is also one of those skills that will go up in the AI era. So AI written code. There's already this. I saw a job post recently of an AI vibe code cleanup specialist. So yeah, those things are going to go
Okay,
up. Yeah.
share it with me.
Sure.
Yeah, right. So you have had such a long experience as a consultant. What are your opinions on like how consultancy is changing with the advent of AI? There is a lot of different opinions in the market on consulting as well. Yeah, earlier, as I have heard, I don't know what used to happen is you have like it used to take 15 days to get data and
Yeah.
analyze it, then do PPT, run through to all the shareholder stakeholders, and yeah, a lot of that. But now it's not like that. Now it's yeah, it's very fast, I guess.
So this is an interesting one. So number one is consulting going to fundamentally change, and is it fundamentally changing? Absolutely, because consulting is nothing but you buying brains. You're buying intelligence, right? Borrowing intelligence from some other company because you don't want to hire that intelligence. That's what consulting has been essentially forever. If cost of intelligence goes down, consulting costs, like the amount of money you can charge for consulting goes down, and therefore you cannot survive because human intelligence is extremely expensive. So definitely the old model is dead. Consulting as an industry is going through an upheaval. A lot of companies will shut down. Potentially really large companies that have been in existence for hundreds of years, they are also going through an existential crisis at this point, because again, they have a lot of intelligence, but they can't really justify the costs of that intelligence when intelligence is like $1 for a million tokens of intelligence. So it's really cheap now, especially because
Yeah.
it's VC funded at this point, or PE funded or public funded, but it's still subsidized. Now the second part of it, so T.S. Eliot was a poet who said a really beautiful thing about between the idea and the reality falls the shadow. So I think similarly, the idea of AI and the reality of AI slightly differ. So there's definitely a lot of progress happened. There's the timelines have compressed. You are now able to do a lot of things for shorter. But the thing you mentioned, right? You had to go talk to 10 people, collect data. All that is still pretty much
Yeah.
there. AI is not going to help you, convince stakeholders to give you Excel files in which their AI, their reality lives. You still need to go design, argue, understand, convince, persuade. So it doesn't really compress
Yeah.
it as much as you would imagine. It does compress it, but not as much as you would imagine. Pretty much the same things we used to do earlier, they still need to be done. But now the expectation is that because AI would have compressed everything, why are you charging me this much? You have to charge me less. So a lot of companies would feel that crunch, or they would try to exploit that, and they would give a low quality service, but they would justify it by saying, hey, we are able to be this cheap because we use AI. In reality, it's just bad service. It's
Yeah.
But yeah, that's happening. So it's some of it is improvement, some of them is just hype. People just think that it should be cheaper, so there's pressure on every company to kind of go cheaper than they used to be, whether there's an actual improvement or not.
How is consulting actually changing?
Now, like, what is the AI impact on?
Yeah. What is the
So,
impact of
as
AI
I
on
said, number one,
consulting?
the junior level positions that used to do a lot of housekeeping, that housekeeping is automated. So even at Orbit, for example, we are building an AI agent for ourselves as well, which does meeting notes, creating tasks, project updates, creating documentations, test scripts, creating diagram
Yeah.
processes, etc., from meetings and directly just updating that solution, stuff like that. First level ticket resolution. So a lot of things that we would
Yeah.
traditionally use juniors to help with, we know that we are able to automate them. We're not pulling the trigger on all of it. We're still keeping some things very human because we think there's value in keeping them human. But wherever we think like this is something that we should not waste our people's time on, we automate that, or we try to automate that, right? Marketing research. There's a bunch of stuff that we can do using AI that's on the cards, and we're building out. There's a knowledge graph that ensures that the entire company's knowledge is kind of put there. So one of the problems in consulting that I always had a big problem with is when a consultant goes on to a new project, you get that project by saying, hey, we have an experience of different customers or 5,000 different customers, and we're going to bring that knowledge to you. In reality, you bring the knowledge that Rahul, who graduated 2 years ago, has. So Rahul definitely does. And Rahul, I'm not picking on a specific Rahul, but in general, Rahul who has 2 years of experience
Yeah.
does not know what happened in 50 customers. Right? He just knows what happened in his one
Yeah.
last customer. So it's the promise of experience is not matching the reality of execution anywhere. So we've built a knowledge layer that actually helps Rahul augment his thoughts with the 50 customers that we have implemented. So it actually brings in that knowledge. So the first customer gets the benefit of the previous 50 that we executed. Otherwise, there's no point. And consulting has been doing this for a long time. They would say, yeah, we're a 100-year-old company. Yeah, but your consultant is 21 years old. So it's not going to be a revolutionary 100-year-old, service to me. You're just going to give me whatever Rahul, who's 21 years old, is going to give me. So we're trying to solve that problem. So
Yeah.
those kind of
Right.
things are really disrupting how consulting is done. Second, as I said, pricing models will change. So if you're not going to be able to bill people for hours, which was the typical model, you will have to bill them for outcomes. And so that
Mhm.
is a real big shift that we're seeing in consulting. And I think at least we for one are quite well positioned there because we were one of the first companies to start like an outcome based model. Our entire company is based around it. Being AI native has its own advantages because we don't have to re-engineer anything. We are engineering from scratch to kind of fit this new reality. We have less people, so we don't have to then lay off a lot of people later.
Good one. Yeah. So, what does your company?
So we are Oracle partners. What we do is for existing people who use Oracle's Fusion enterprise resource planning software. The enterprise resource planning software is basically anything in the back office management information system, right? पूरा उसका system. तो वो ERP में lot of people have already invested a lot of money on their ERPs, but they don't get the right value out of it. Maybe because Rahul implemented the system and he did not know how to, or maybe
Could you explain
yeah. So
what is ERP
sure,
for everybody?
sure. So ERP is basically a support system for your business. So for instance, if you do hiring, or for one example, your eCampus is an example of an ERP system or ERP adjacent system, right? So it helps the business do
Yeah.
business functions that support the core business. For example, finance hai. So you want to see, how much money came in, what is your profits, how much did you, and how much money did I earn is a very complicated question at scale. because it's almost
Yeah,
impossible to
right.
do, without a very large system that supports that process, because there's so much money coming in, out, there are debts, there are equity payouts, there's a whole structure around
Yeah.
money that it's impossible for a person to calculate on paper. Similarly, supply chain. So if you ask the DICT at RC to bring a book, right? So there will be a whole supply chain process by which they procure their book, or they might work with one of the partner libraries to temporarily bring that book here, or they might buy it from Amazon. But there will be a whole process around, you requesting, them approving, them acquiring, them
Mm.
paying, and then updating our budgets, etc. Similarly, hiring, giving payroll, those are HCM systems. I am from an HCM background, so I implemented human capital management systems. So that means hire
Yeah.
people, learning and development, stuff like that. So software that supports the HR department is HCM.
Mm-hmm.
Software that supports the finance department is finance, and all of that combined is your ERP system. Does that make sense?
Right. Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That now I understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I
So
understand it completely.
what we do is, as I said, a lot of people, and these are millions of dollars, right? These are not cheap. They're very expensive systems. So people would have acquired them, and then either the business would have drifted because you had certain working assumptions on which the software has been configured. So what happens is, Oracle has the base software.
Yeah.
A partner like us would go and configure it. So it's similar to how you gift an iPhone to your grandparents, right? Apple would give you an iPhone which is like preset, and then you would make the font bigger. You would do accessibility changes. So the configuration will be done by a partner. So in our case, we would, like, companies like us would go and make the system work for your business specifically by setting it up in your context.
Yeah. Right.
So as I said, after 6 months, you realize whether your assumptions were correct. Maybe you went with certain assumptions like, okay, I need to make the font bigger on my iPhone, but your grandma hates that. She's like, I do you think I'm blind? Give me proper font. I want to see more things in the same space. So maybe certain assumptions were
Yeah.
wrong. Maybe Rahul, who implemented that system, did not know how to, or maybe your business changed. So you had gone in when you were just an ice cream company. Now you're an ice cream and milkshakes company, and your system no longer supports the milkshake division. So you need to
Yeah. Right.
adjust your system, but it's very expensive. So what we do is, we
Yeah.
specialize in maximizing value from your ERP system by making very small tweaks. So we would search, we have our own AI tools that find out, okay, where is the most value gap that is there. We think you should be at X, but you're only at, A. So how do you get you from A to X and then to Z? So that kind of stuff is where we use our tools to find value that's already there, but just needs a little bit of tweaking to kind of maximize.
Yeah. Right. It's like software documentation.
Not just that, it's more like, for example, if I'm hiring from DICT and 5 other colleges, and I have budget which I'm spreading across these 5, but I know that if I do a
Yeah.
data analysis of 10 years, always I see that DICT is giving me the best candidates, right? And I'm only saying this to pander to all of you guys. If I do a podcast with some other university, I will say their name. No, I'm kidding. I'll always say DICT, right? I'm very loyal that way. So if DICT is giving me the best candidates, what if I move investment from what is giving me the worst candidates back into DICT, and I hire more from here? So instead of let's say I hire 5 from 5 places, 5 each. Instead of that, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to hire 10 from DICT and maybe 3 from 2 other places, right? So I'm balancing that. Just by moving a little bit of funds here and there, or just by moving a little bit of resources here and there, I'm able to maximize the value of my recruitment effort. Because now I'm getting 10 people who are really good, who will create a large impact into my company. So typically, in large organizations,
Optimization.
optimization, exactly. So it's process optimization, it's system optimization, and business process optimization overall, right? So that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
So we do a lot of stuff. In order to do that, we do process mining, machine learning, 50,000 चीजें करते हैं. But ultimately, what we get you is, we get you a.
Yeah. Right. Got it. Yeah. There is a. So engineering means there are a lot of memes around HR. Like, what does HR do?
I wouldn't know because
Yeah. I
I'm not
mean.
an HR. My customers are HR. So मैं तो कुछ बोलूंगा ही नहीं इस बारे में, ठीक है? This is a very dangerous territory for me.
You are HRM of Orbit
No,
Consulting, right?
I am the consulting head for the HCM systems division. I just my job is to implement HR systems. But I don't own my HR department. My HR department is a different co-founder who heads HR as well. So the HR comes under the COO for us. So my chief operating officer, he runs HR. I don't touch HR. Within Ordric.
Okay, could you give some insight
On
to break the myths?
Yeah, so I think it's really interesting because I don't know how to put it without being blasted by my customers. But this is so in India, at least I've seen that there's very little focus on HR. That's the problem. The key problem is you don't really focus on that department as strongly as you should. But if you really look at strong HR folks, right, who know what they're doing, my God, they're one of the few of the smartest people in the organization. They're really, really strong HR folks. Unfortunately, most organizations don't want to invest in a strong HR department. So they would just hire people and then make them do, events and Secret Santa and stuff like that, which is fine, which is also important. But then there's no business impact that comes through. But if you work in an organization, so for example, my previous organization or my current organization, we do a lot of work on HR. As an HR business partner, how do you collaborate with the business to make sure that you have the right resourcing pipeline, you have the right kind of people, you have the right incentivization structures. I know some folks of mine, like friends of mine. In fact, there are a couple of alumni of DICT who then went to XLRI, did their HR from there, MBA and HR from there, and then they work in they had like a job of 60-70 lakhs. पता नहीं कितना कमाते होंगे. And they are really, really smart. They've always been really, really smart. So you can imagine if they go into an organization and they're working there and combining their technology skills with their HR skills, they're going to do wonders there because now they can tell you exactly compensation कैसे होना चाहिए, how much money should we spend on X person versus Y person at scale, right? लोग हैं कैसे
Yeah,
fairly distribute करोगे, equitable distribution कैसे, how will you reduce risk of loss, how do you predict attrition, how do you predict risk of loss. Somebody's going to go, what are the signs that your data tells you कि ये इंसान अभी resign कर, तो उसको तुम कैसे रोकोगे. So there is a whole lot of things that go behind it if you have a strong HR department. Unfortunately, 97% of Indian companies don't have a strong HR department.
oh, is,
That's super controversial. I'm going to get murdered for this, but yeah. Yes.
don't worry.
हाँ, क्या ही होगा,
So
रंग
is it
रंग
your
सेक देंगे. हाँ, sorry.
is it coming from your experience at Orbrick?
Yeah. So not at Orbrick, but because I've worked with HRs across the world, most of my customers have been outside. So I've seen what good HR looks like, like where
Mm-hmm.
they take it seriously. So I've worked with international companies where HR is really, really serious, and they are few of the most competent people that you will ever come across. But when I contrast
Yeah,
that with, experiences here, you might not have that unless it's a really, really serious company about its people. Varna generally itna strong, which is why the reputation, I know why you asked that question, right? Because of the whole meme around Rangoli banate hain sirf. I have been lucky, I have had good HRs. So at least people I've worked with, really competent HRs. I've worked with DMA campus recruitment mein main saalon se aa raha hu. They were good. The HR VPs were good. My current company also focuses a lot on HR. But I know that it's not very common.
yeah. So you mentioned your friends, some alumni at
Yeah.
PAO. So what was that XLR?
XLRI is an MBA college, which is for HR at least it is probably the top college in India, number one.
Okay,
XLRI Jamshedpur. It is
okay.
for HR specifically, and then for business management. I think it's one of the best. It ranks with IIM ISB range.
IIMs also provide HR courses,
Yeah,
or
they
they
do,
don't?
they do, they do. But अब ये क्या है, again, my wife is from IIM Ahmedabad, so I really don't want to get into more trouble than I already am. For XLRI may be better than most IIMs in terms of HR, is what my impression is. I am an outsider, guys. I do not have the stats with me, and maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, at least what I understand is that XLRI is really, really good for HR.
Got it.
But I'm not
Yeah, I can
promoting them, and
understand.
they're not paying me. If they want to, I'll send my address.
Sure. We'll display the
Yeah.
address. Yeah. So, what was I asking? Yeah. So it gives a really good background for a technologically
Hmm.
founded company which has technological foundation,
Roots, yeah.
basically, to have somebody who is BTech from a good college, and then HR,
Yeah.
then also competent HR. I guess again the good idea of being a good generalist is a idea we see again reinforced
That's
here,
true.
I guess.
That's true. And at least I've always found one of the beauties of DICT is that I know so many examples of people who started off in MSc or in BTech and now they're doing something completely different. they like I have my batchmates, some of whom are batchmates and like people I know from MSc, some of whom are, into luxury goods. Someone has a cafe. There are people who are in finance
Good.
from MSc to, like, I know a lot of people who went into Goldman Sachs and they do finance or stuff like that. In BTech, I had a lot of friends who, you started off with BTech, you ended up in anthropology, you ended up in policy, you ended up in teaching. There's just a whole. It fills me with so much joy that BA has always been able to provide pathways beyond ट्रेडिशनल अच्छा बीटेक करो फिर एमबीए करो फिर बैंक जाओ वो नहीं है it's that's really positive. I feel very happy when that happens, and of course I feel very happy when people do core tech stuff also, because we have hardcore, inside the tech cutting edge of it also, so that combination is really good.
Yeah, sure. Please do connect me to the
Sure, yeah.
anthropologist. I would like
I'll
to
try.
bring him into the podcast, him or her. Anthropologist from DA. Wow, great. I didn't think of it. Okay. I was like, okay, IRS officer is the peak of
हाँ मतलब ये तो मैं एग्जांपल ले
DA's
रहा हूँ. आई डोंट नो
diversity.
एग्जैक्टली क्या करते हैं, पर उसी मतलब बहुत अलग अलग चीजें करते हैं. लाइक देयर आर क्लाइमेट फोक्स,
Crazy.
एग्री एग्री फोक्स आर बहुत ज्यादा वाइड वेराइटी. लॉजिस्टिक्स में इतने सारे लोग हैं. इंटरेस्टिंग तरह के आउटकम्स निकले हैं फॉर आवर पीपल. हेल्थ टेक में है वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग स्टफ दैट पीपल आर डूइंग.
Now, though, we have MSc agriculture as well. So,
हाँ
agriculture is not very phenomenal, but yeah, cafe is again interesting.
हाँ.
Yeah. What are your hobbies other than this?
Bees.
You also did a podcast, right? You used to do a podcast. Or
I
you still do, right?
do a podcast for my company. That's my job in a way. But
Yeah, obviously.
I like reading. I like writing poetry. I don't like reading my poetry, but yeah, that's a different story. Music सुनना normal चीजें ही है, इतना कुछ वो नहीं है. So really enjoy debating. What are some interesting hobbies? I don't know. I like drinking, but that's not really a hobby, is it? Can it be a hobby? I don't know.
What kind of drinking? एक second. Because we are in Gujarat.
I don't drink in Gujarat.
Okay, okay, okay,
But so
got it.
I'm only eating. ये काट देना. I like writing raps and poems and stuff like that. Writing would be one.
Can we
One
hear
hobby.
something?
No.
Please.
I'll send you something later.
One good rap that you have.
I don't have a single good rap. I just like writing.
Okay. The worst one.
इतने भी बुरे नहीं है. भेज दूंगा बाद में. Don't include. काट दे पूरा सेक्शन काट दे ये मनुष्य सेक्शन.
Yeah. The other day we were talking about thinking in systems.
हम्म.
Yeah, thinking in systems, building systems to achieve goals.
हम्म.
Yeah, any comments on that? How has this idea been for you as a builder? And also one more thing that just popped up key, like startup now it is very, I would say, pedestalized
हम्म.
after Shark Tank at least
हम्म.
in a way. And so yeah, how was it back then? And it's like, there are a lot of stereotypes at startup. It's like two people in a garage
Yeah. Yeah.
just doing I don't know what.
Yeah.
So yeah, how was your experience of building something from scratch? I guess it gives a lot of learning and it gives a lot of understanding and insight. So yeah, can you share all of that as well?
So it definitely does. I think जितना glamorize करते हैं उतना glamorize करने की. I think at some point people start feeling कि oh I have to do a startup. Why should I work for somebody else when I'm working? I don't want to work for my own boss. I want to work for myself. You are never going to work for yourself. If you are working in a company doing a job, you're working for one person. If you are doing a startup, you're working for every single customer and their secretary. You're doing a lot more. Uh, you have lot many more bosses than you would as in a job, because you have to do so many different things and you have to wear so many different hats. Every dollar is your boss. Every dollar coming in is your boss, and you have to eat last, because whoever you've hired, you have to protect their interest. At least if you're not a complete this is going on YouTube, right? If you're not a complete bad person, you can imagine other words instead of that. But if you're not like that, there's a lot more stress unnecessarily sometimes. So there's a saying that startups are the worst way to make 40 lakhs and really good way to make 40 if you get to 40 crores. Otherwise, you will make as much as your peers are making in jobs after 10, 20 years, but you will suffer a lot more for it than people with steady jobs and uh, I don't know, that equation again might change a little now with so many layoffs and all that happening, but yeah, it's still a जॉब सिक्योरिटी तो कहीं नहीं है, पर एटलीस्ट यू आर हैविंग लेस हेडेक, वो हो सकता है. सो डोंट ओवर ग्लैमराइज इट ऑल्सो. हमारे स्पेसिफिकली इन आर केस देयर वाज अ लॉट ऑफ डिफरेंसेस ऑल्सो, बिकॉज आई डिड नॉट कम फ्रॉम अ सिचुएशन वेयर गराज में कर रहे हैं टाइप का है. वी हैड ऑलरेडी लाइक I am the youngest of the co-founders. Everybody else has a lot more experience
Okay.
than me, and we are bootstrapped, but we put in like the right amount of money from the get-go. Ki at least we started with a shared office space, which is like a co-working space, and within a few months we changed to our own office. And the current office we have is our third office in 2 years. So we have rapidly expanded from there. We knew what we were doing. We are very seasoned in this industry. So it's not like we, are figuring things out as we go, which is why typically you have that garage situation, because you still are finding PMF. You're still kind of figuring out. Money
Yeah.
isn't there. So your costs have started, but your revenue hasn't. That's not the case with us, because we know what we're doing and we're the same kind of place. So it's a little different, but yeah, this metaphorical garage still exists, right? Because you're still struggling with, you know, thinking of how do you get where you want to go. You're always thinking, is this enough or do I need to do something else, do something differently? And you're always worried. Earlier, you used to worry for like two people, maybe like one person, yourself, for instance. Now you have to worry for 80 people, 90 people, 100 people. That way, it's a little more stress also. But I think it's fun also. So it depends on how much risk cushion you have and what you want to do in life. But if you enjoy doing it, it can be really fun. But इतना कुछ पेडेस्टलाइज करने जैसा नहीं है. It's just another path that you pick. So मुझे तो कोई भी पाथ में ऐसा लगता है कि I don't understand when people make one path so much better than the other. If you're a doctor, good for you. If you're a janitor, good for you. You're doing your own thing. You're doing your work. The idea has to be to do your work well and grow where you want to grow. I don't see why people obsess over success metrics that are made and defined by someone else. ऑनेस्टली उतना फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता है. मतलब अगर तुम्हें जॉब में खुश हो तो खुश रहो. नहीं हो तो कुछ और सोचो. I
Yeah.
sound very
I
weird
mean,
because I've had this argument with so many people who feel like although they're happy in their jobs, they're like, no, I must do a startup. And I'm like, why? So, yeah,
yeah, I guess this is where, critical thinking makes a lot of
correct.
difference. It's like,
Exactly. What do you want to do? Everything depends. These are all zariyas. These are all ways or paths to get where you want to get. The idea has to be to first figure out where you want to get, then do whatever takes you there. Not everything needs entrepreneurship.
yeah, right. I mean, again, you have to have a clear why in order to not get swayed away by every other opinion in the world. Yeah, again, that idea which you shared, uh, ki we have to kind of wrestle with opposing ideas as good as we are with the ideas we already kind of agree with or
Yeah.
I already believe in order to form an informed and also a uh,
Well,
I would say
defensible opinion.
curated
Yeah.
or yeah, defensibility is not a good criteria, I
I
guess,
know.
but uh,
Well thought out, well meshed out opinion. Well
yeah,
considered
well
opinion.
meshed out. Well, yeah, yeah, as an opinion that you're confident in.
Yeah.
Win the debate when you can win the debate from both sides. That's a good
Correct.
opinion. Yeah, again, yeah, critical thinking is yeah. So, what did you learn from this startup experience? How did you get your first 1,000 customers? Was it like
No,
from
we are
your
in
all
we are
from
we are in B2B. हमारे ऐसे 1000 customers नहीं. 1000 customers मतलब मैं एकदम मतलब I am.
clients?
हाँ मतलब 1000 clients अगर मैं retired हूँ. B2B
First ten,
generally.
let's go.
हाँ, first 10 customers we got.
So, was it from like your previous experiences, consultants from all is
हाँ,
in
मतलब we
this
had a lot
industry?
of industry connects. We knew a lot of people in there. As I said, it's the same वो तो uh, the well-wishers mostly, referrals, stuff like that largely. Uh, पहले 10 तो ऐसे ही था. से we were connected over a long history. Some of our co-founders have been in the industry for like 20 years. So they had connects. They knew someone who knew someone, and they were kind enough to recommend us because we had a reputation as well, right? We were known as
Yeah,
really strong in the industry overall. So we, at least early on, we got good recommendations कि ये लोग हैं, खुद involve हो रहे हैं, तो project आपका सही जाने वाला है. That's not a problem. But yeah, so first wave is always, so that's why I have a theory that anytime a friend opens a business, you should have a friends and family discount in negative. So अगर 100 रुपए की चीज है, friends should pay 150 for it. क्योंकि अगर दोस्त ही सपोर्ट नहीं कर रहे वाले तो क्या तुम्हारा हो गया फिर तो. So
Yeah,
I think that's very important, that friends support, and you typically you get from early business always comes from referrals and references of people putting their reputation on the line for supporting you and saying, yeah, these guys will manage. Just trust them with this. And yeah, other than that, then so you build a reputation over time. First customer will say key, second customer को reference दे से धीरे धीरे it comes up. Second way to get business for us at least is tendering process होता है. So there is a public tender that comes out, and you fill the details and you prove that you're the best, uh, best from the point of view of quality and cost, uh, out of the people who filled in, and you
right.
get awarded like that as well. So those are two channels by which typically new companies can come in.
You don't do marketing as
We do
such.
marketing. Yeah,
Like
we do
how much is
marketing.
it?
For marketing for a
So
B.
how do you do marketing for B2B? Yes, that was a
So LinkedIn is one, events is another.
yeah.
So there are some industry trade shows, events जिसमें तुम participate करते हो, booths लेते हो, you meet people there who are from the same industry. Channel partnerships is another.
Channel.
So you would have
What
partners
kind of
who
channel?
do similar soft. So for example, if there's an adjacent software, right? So you might work with them to get you a recommendation in their customer base, for example.
Let's say Oracle. Yes.
या फिर कुछ एडजेसेंसी वाली चीजें, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल यू वांट टू सेल अ टूथपेस्ट, तो यू विल वर्क विद अ टूथब्रश वेंडर कि टूथब्रश ब्रश खरीदने गए हो तो
Okay.
ये
Yeah.
पेस्ट अच्छा है, दैट इज हाउ यू कैन डू. बाकी तो बस यही है, मोस्टली इट इज दीज काइंड ऑफ मार्केटिंग, एंड देन वी डू वेबिनार्स, वी डू एजुकेशन कंटेंट. जैसे पॉडकास्ट इज पार्ट ऑफ दैट, राइट? सो वी ट्राई टू bring out more education in the world. Generally, just try to be helpful. तो हमारे marketing department का एक fundamental is कि we never put anything out unless it creates value for the reader or the consumer, basically.
Right.
So we don't do any post like, oh, we had a holy party or we did, pizza party. We don't have any such posts. If you look at our entire LinkedIn page, it will just be educational content, resources, assets, stuff that actually helps the consumer base directly. No, we did this, we did that, कुछ नहीं है.
Yeah.
तो
No HR
नो
events.
एचआर इवेंट्स होता सब है, पर हम लोग उस पे पोस्ट नहीं करते हैं.
Yeah.
पर्सनल से पोस्ट कर लेते हैं, पर
Not
वी डोंट
relevant.
पोस्ट फ्रॉम द कंपनी पेज, बिकॉज द फंडामेंटल आइडिया इज दैट यू हैव टू गिव वैल्यू टू द रीडर. और मेरा एचआर इवेंट में तुमको वैल्यू नहीं है, राइट? मैंने होली खेला, तुम्हें क्या? पर मैं तुम्हारे काम
Right.
की चीज जितनी हो सके उतनी वी ट्राई टू पुट अप. एंड दैट्स इट. मतलब दोज आर द काइंड ऑफ मार्केटिंग थिंग्स दैट वी डू लार्जली. तो सबसे ज्यादा इवेंट्स और वो सब चीजें होती हैं. सो देयर इज एन इवेंट इन वेगस दैट वी डू, दैट वी प्लानिंग टू डू और पार्टिसिपेट इन. There was an event in London which we participated in. There was another one in Florida last year which we did. We got a booth there and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was coming back to the question again. What did you learn from this like startup building experience again? Like, yeah, coming from building something from scratch has its like
Merits and demerits.
own
Yeah.
yeah journey, experience, learnings, which I guess you cannot get. You can. It is not borrowable. I guess
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
subjective
Yeah.
experience is
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
borrowable. I would still like to request you to lend it to us
So what kind do you mean practical, emotional? What kind of? Because it's a roller coaster for everything. Financial.
as much as you can cover. I would
So
say.
पहले the financial, you should always assume that you are going to need a lot of money in the future, and just save before you spend. तो अभी से तेरा फर्स्ट जॉब लगे, फर्स्ट थिंग यू शुड डू इज अज्यूम दैट यू हैव अ लोअर पैकेज देन व्हाटएवर यू गेट इनटू, and just invest and forget about that money. You don't have that money. Keep it for a rainy day. It will really help you if you ever need to take a risk like this. Uh,
Okay.
from a general social point of view, also, I think, मतलब obviously काम काफी सारा, because I earlier used to do just work in my department. Now I do like a whole. अब मैं क्या वो, when you become an entrepreneur, तुम basically 4 million का डील का डिसीजन भी ले रहे हो और झाड़ू पोछा भी. That has to be the attitude that you have. So
Yeah.
I would say
Right.
झाड़ू पोछा, that's also good. Finance used to be like, I did not understand a lot of finance, like a lot of DIC teams, right? We are
Yeah.
not good at finance. We should get though. Personal finance, then corporate finance is something new that I'm learning. I'm doing more product side पे काफी learnings हुई है, because I did not have an opportunity to do product development before, which I now manage the department there. So there are a lot of learnings there as well. I think from a मतलब वैसा थोड़ा point of view, you would also learn that sometimes help will come from places you haven't expected at all, and you should really really cherish those kind of people who just spring up and help you without you expecting
Yeah,
them.
right.
And sometimes, or a lot of times, people you expect would help would not. They would not be anywhere near. And you have to learn to forgive them because वो उनके उस टाइम पे उस सेंस में उनका क्या सिचुएशन है, we don't know. So but yeah, your
Yeah,
assumptions will break. So most assumptions you would have about most things will be challenged, shaken and broken in an entrepreneurship journey. वो मुझे लगता है कि will happen with everybody who, and so you have to learn to distance yourself from the emotion of it to an extent कि ठीक है, it happens, it's fine,
yeah,
but be very very grateful for the people who actually do come and support you.
I guess, yeah. So, yeah, let me know if I'm articulating correctly. What I understand is that it gives you a sense of maturity and it kind of forces you to think from more perspectives, especially when it comes to people and
Yeah.
dealing with, yeah, people and, understanding what they might be going through and, yeah, giving them benefit of doubt, which we don't generally do,
Yeah.
at least as students.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
We never do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of maturity is something that we should also try to cultivate,
And one more
I
thing I
guess.
have
Yeah.
noticed is, and this is just a running go, but jitne entrepreneurs I know, I think one more thing they realize is that how precious their time is. It like you are working 24 में से 22 hours a day है, तुम रात को सपने में मेरे बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि I dream about a product that I'm making, for example, and I'll wake up and I'll start documenting it because I'll forget the idea otherwise. So you literally like
Yeah, right.
you're spending an inhuman amount of time obsessing over things that you're doing at your company as an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
And I think that's a common phenomena also. So you realize your time is very precious, and as a hopping off of that, you also start working on your health more. So at least मैंने ये देखा है कि entrepreneurs, when they hit a certain age and they realize कि अरे my health is my bottleneck, I'm not able to put in the energy I want because I'm no longer able to stay up as long or do as many things as I used to be able to do, they start becoming more health conscious. अभी मैं उस लेवल पे आया नहीं हूँ, मैं आ रहा हूँ, ट्राई कर रहा हूँ, पर आई एम नोटिस मैंने बहुत टाइम से समोसे खाना कम, बट एटलीस्ट द रेस्ट ऑफ माई को फाउंडर्स a lot of them are really health conscious. Like, I think that entrepreneurship has a lot to do with it. Otherwise, they would have been normal health conscious. Right now, they're like, oh my God, I have to do this because otherwise my company is going to suffer if I don't, be really good at
Yeah.
energy management.
No. So yeah, how do you deal with difference of opinions at your level, at the level of co-founders? Because everybody has stakeholding, and you can't be like, yeah, I have 60% stakeholding, so I'll overrule. Yeah, how do you negotiate at that level?
So, couple of ways. So, number one, we are structured so that that is reduced. So, we have actually 8 co-founders. So that's a big number, right? So, this is something that we built into the fabric of the company so that we don't get into this too much. Which is that. So this is used to. So I was in the SPC at DA, and this is how DA's SPC used to run when I was there. Which is that
Okay.
we had a convenership model, a convener deputy convener, which probably still is there. That
Yeah,
convener is
it
elected
is.
and within the SPC. And then you have company responsible, CR. So if there is a company on campus and I am the CR, then my convener will do as I say because I am responsible
Okay.
for that company. So if I call the convener saying, then आएगा क्योंकि that is the point of ownership, right? So whoever's neck is in the noose, that person decides. That's the simple logic that we used to run there. It's a very similar logic here. So we all have our own independent departments. Whoever's neck is in the noose will take a decision. There are only two scenarios in which that might change. One is where there's a cross departmental decision or something like that, where you have two or more people kind of overlapping. Otherwise, क्या है मेरा डिपार्टमेंट है, मैं डिसाइड कर रहा हूँ, मेरे पास एक बजट है to work in that constraint. Constraints are predefined and then decisions are ad hoc and each person takes their own decision.
Right.
ultimately the idea was how do you maximize good for everyone. That is the way you try to do it. So you debate till you reach a consensus and you try to figure out why somebody is opposed to the idea. Maybe you can address the why, even if you can't address the core idea. You figure out what is that everybody wants and you try to give everybody that. Failing that, you always have an arbitrator. So you have each department has an ultimate boss, right? So we have the CEO. So we are answerable to the CEO. CEO is answerable to the board. Board is answerable to us. So there is a way in which it works. So there is a tiebreaker always. So if there is something that hinges on, maybe there's a decision that is not reconcilable either from the point of view of whose neck is it, or from the point of view of which is the better idea, then you have a tiebreaker. Tiebreaker will take the facts into account and decide, and then every party has to abide by that. So, वो हो गया फिर हो गया, तो उसमें फिर there is no debate beyond that we do. So everybody accepts. Generally, architecturally, we try to design it in a way that you minimize conflict, because conflict is conflict and the continuous need to debate things operationally is a killer of agility. So you should
Yeah.
debate strategy, but
Hmm.
debating tactics too much is not a great idea. So you want to limit it to, so you want to
Yeah.
create more alignment basically.
A lot of opportunity costs.
Lot of opportunity cost, lot of and time is the only thing that you have. Time is the most expensive of all currencies. So time
Yeah.
जितना कम बिगाड़े उतना अच्छा है.
Biggest leverage, yes. Yeah. What about strategies about future planning, and what will be the vision of company, and in that sense, is it the same
Yeah, so our
model that
our
you're talking?
vision, so our vision is basically to save 1 billion life hours. So what we're trying to do is, to be very specific, it's to end mundanity in the back office and save 1 billion life hours. So what we're trying to do is कि जहाँ पे भी people are using these back office software ERP systems, it's how do I make them spend less time there and more time in their core function. So if I'm let's say working for a healthcare customer, I want 99.9% of their thought process, of their energy, to go into patient care. I don't want it to go into how do I raise an invoice, how do I raise an acquisition for a new hire, all that. So I want to minimize the amount of time they spend in the back office. And so value maximization, how we do it is, we save you money which can be reinvested into your core purpose. We save you time which can be reinvested into your core purpose. Whether we think in terms of money or time, we ultimately convert everything to the currency of life hours, which is time. What does that mean? 10 लोगों का 10 मिनट is 100 minute. So 100 life minutes. एक इंसान का 100 minute is also 100 life minutes. That's why life hours, right?
Got it.
And we want to save 1 billion of those. So that's the value we want to create, and hopefully we will capture part of the value we create.
Yeah, got the vision. The question which I wanted to kind of get an answer to was ki, how do you so if there are any conflicts with how the vision is going to be implemented, so it's like ki, do we
How
invest
do you
more in
then reconcile
marketing,
that?
or yeah, how do you, so it's like, do I build a new office building, or do I invest more in marketing, or do I invest more in AI, or do I invest more in yeah, whatever that you do, I don't know.
Oh, I think adjudicator based है. So that is similar to how debate club में debate होती है, right? So how do you decide who wins a debate? It will depend on the adjudicator. So if there is a conflicting view on any of this, right? और ये
हाँ.
तभी होता है when you have too many constraints. Generally we try to deconstrain कि अगर revenue बहुत सारा है तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. We don't have to do this or that. We can do both. अगर revenue उतना नहीं हो पा, right? Then there is a conversation around what to prioritize. So then we would make our case to each other and to the CEO and the board. एंड देन दे डिसाइड. मतलब उसमें ओवरऑल कितना लग रहा है कि क्या जाएगा, वो उस पर डिपेंड करता है. उसमें बहुत सारे फैक्टर्स हैं. मतलब वन इज ऑल्सो हाउ मच कन्विक्शन यू हैव. सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ यू
Yeah.
थिंक कि नहीं नहीं आई विल डू वंडर, आई विल मूव माउंटेन्स इफ यू लेट मी डू दिस, then that has an additional point, right? Because then you would want to let that person do it, and then if they fail, then you don't have to let them do anything else for a while, because you're like, hey, last time ही तूने बोला था, अब तो चुप रहे. So yeah, that it kind of works on the principle of you bringing evidence, bringing data. So we're a data guided firm, so bringing data that this is likely to work, and you bringing, like, just measuring how much conviction you have. That so some ideas don't have data because some ideas are truly new, so they will not have any 10 year of history to show. But then it is about how much you think this is going to. So generally trust में क्या होता है? Trust में there are two factors to trust. Trust has trust of intention, right? Which includes trust of motivation. Like I have the intent to help you and the motivation to help you. So that is trust of intention, and the trust of ability. So maybe I'm very good with hammers and I really want to help you, but you need a surgeon. Me smashing your skull is not going to help you, even if my intention is very good. So that doesn't help. So I don't trust a person whose intentions are good, but ability is very low. I don't trust a person whose ability is very high, but intentions are not good. And therefore motivation
Yeah.
is not good. हमारे केस में क्या है, intention and ability both are proven. So intention सबका वही है, we all share the same company. So एक का फायदा है, everybody's फायदा. So I don't have to be right. I just need to be in the same boat where the captain is right, or where the crew is right about where we are going. As long as we are collectively right, it doesn't matter if I did every decision incorrectly, as long as they didn't accept it. They were like, no, we'll do the right thing, right? And we end up
Yeah.
making it to shore. So I think that conflict doesn't arise as much, at least so far, because we know that all of us want to go to the same place. Nobody's trying to create some other agenda. So everybody's agenda is the same. So then it's just a matter of where most of us feel that, yeah, this is a good bet.
How
We
do
can.
you ensure that there is
You
no
don't need to ensure that. You give everybody equity. So we give a lot of our employees also equity so that there is no need to ensure it. If I win, everybody wins. So there's no need for. So employment or entrepreneurship is employment may there might be a feeling, which is why office politics comes in, right? Employment में there
Yeah.
might become a feeling. ये भी मेरे साथ नहीं हुआ है. मतलब my previous organization very little politics in that sense. मुझे लगता है कि सबका सेम ही एजेंडा था वहां पे भी, even as employees. But if you are an employee, you might have a feeling, the company has to win through me. So it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if the overall decision is right. It has to be a right decision taken via my route, my advice.
Yeah.
ऐसा कुछ I don't care if I am wrong or somebody is wrong. As long as overall the company makes money, I don't care if it was through me or not through me, because ultimately I am a benefactor. So if
Yeah.
you have a lot of ESOPs,
Huh.
if the company becomes super rich, even if you never get an award, employment award in your life, if the company becomes Anthropic or OpenAI or Google, I don't think you care about awards. Then you care more about the big payday at the end of it. Recognition and all is important, पर वो need जो होती है कि नहीं, it has to win through me, that goes away. Then it's just about it has to win. And winning is an interesting thing, right? So I have a theory about winning. There are only 4 or 5 ways in which you can really compete with anybody. So you either need to outdo them, which is like you outwork them, right? You do more work than them. You
Yeah.
outlast them, which is that you do it for longer than them. It is you outluck them, which is you just get really, really lucky. Your timing is good. You outlive them.
Yeah. Outlive them. Yes. The last one.
That's another one. And there are a couple of I keep talking about this. I talk about it so much that I sometimes forget. But yeah, there are only some ways in which you can, outwork your competition. And again, comes back to the same thing. You don't want to spend too much time uh, paralyzed in internal squabbles. You want to go forward.
Yeah. Again, to expand on this idea, I've also heard this idea someplace else. So it's like you cannot change your luck, you cannot change your smartness. I mean, for the most part, you cannot change your smartness. The only way to win is you either outwork them or you either outlive them. And you outlive
Yep.
them by getting experiences, by reading. The best way to get experience is
Correct.
by reading.
Correct.
So,
Because you're
yeah,
stealing
read,
somebody's soul, right?
gets.
You're
Yeah, that is stealing somebody's soul. Yeah. Reading is stealing somebody's soul. You get a lifetime worth of experience crunched into 300 odd pages.
Yep.
Yeah, that's something which is, I guess, people don't realize, at least here at student level, people don't realize how much value that packs in.
And I think it's a combination. So as I said, you outdo them, you can outsmart them, you can outluck them. I don't agree that you can't change your luck or can't change your intelligence also. So you can outsmart them by being more conscious about where you're, what you're pushing. So I have a theory of pushing walls. People instead of pushing doors, they push walls, and then they expect कि अरे मैंने इतना काम किया, but that did not result in anything. You will see the most hardworking people are not the people who win.
Yeah,
the
right.
the luckiest, smartest people who outlast everybody and work the hardest are the people who. It's a combination. It's not a competition. It's a combination of these things. So how
Yeah,
do you outluck people? You expose yourself to more avenues and opportunities and experiences. You create luck by being out there, right? You do more conversations, you meet more people, you talk to more people, you proselytize your company, whatever. How do you outsmart them? You think of your problem space, you remain conscious. As you said, you read more, right? You consume more.
Yeah.
How do you outlive them? You don't take stupid bets that bankrupt you. So there are a lot of good companies that are really, really good, but got bankrupt because they did not have the right cash flow. They took some
Yeah.
bets which were too aggressive, overgrowing, you know.
Yeah. Recently, Syntax was in the news regarding, yeah,
So
Syntax
those kind
got
of things happen.
bankrupt.
Why did they go bankrupt?
Yeah, so actually, Syntax had two industries that it was in. One was the obviously tank industry, water tank
Tank
industry,
wala.
and another one was textile. And in both of those, they had like a very good revenue, very good. Yeah, it was working well, but yeah, they wanted to kind of expand a lot, so expand into other categories or something like that. So they were like around at 3,000 crores revenue, and they took a loan of 7,000 crores, and yeah, they could not deal with that. So yeah, the companies were sold, but the both
Yeah,
part
so
were
so
separated and
they
they were
couldn't
sold.
outlast. Yeah, yeah, correct.
Yeah,
They couldn't outlast the competition. Yeah, I agree. So those kind of things happen, which is why I think one very interesting thought that I keep struggling with, right? Uh, when it comes to outsmarting, uh, I think the most important thing for an entrepreneur is to pick the right problem space. So when I say pick the right problem space, I look at it in my own industry. We implement a technology. The ticket size of that, right? So average, agar मैं देखूँ तो it will go in hundreds of thousands of dollars, could go in millions of dollars. काम कौन कर रहा है? मैं एक engineer hire करा, right? I have some trainings on that, and that person is able to deliver. There are also companies that do web development, website development, right? Which will have the same engineer, same kind of setup, same number of computers. They will be doing some coding to do websites, and maybe they will do lakhs. बहुत अच्छा website है, कुछ few lakhs rupees, right? So the difference between these two is massive. And similarly, if I were, instead of doing services, if I had some ability to make my own model and I became Anthropic, for example, same number of people but vastly different outcomes, vastly different arbitrages. That's because the problem space selection is incorrect. So a lot of times people spend a lot of, which is why I'm warning you against pedestalizing the idea of working hard in and of itself. Because if you work hard on the wrong things, you will not succeed. So you have to
yeah,
be
right.
smart enough to pick what to leverage में कहाँ वजन डाल से leverage को use करना है, कितना लंबा डंडी चाहिए, all that is important. So you have to have a combination of these things that you're outsmarting, you're outworking, you're outlucking, you're outlasting, you're outgiving. It has to be a combination. It can't be just one thing.
Yeah, right. Regarding the outsmarting thing, sometimes it really shoots yourself in the foot when you try to outsmart because
But then you're not
yeah,
outsmarting, right? Then you're failing to outsmart.
yeah, but so again, realizing that you are not outsmarting, you are shooting yourself in the foot
Mm.
is a difficult thing to do. It might not be very practical for many people because it requires a level of self awareness which is which cannot be very cultivated very intuitively, if you
Yeah, so you
get
have to
what I'm
work
trying to
towards
say.
it. You have to learn. You have to surround yourself with people who will tell you that, hey, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Don't do that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
But ultimately, if you don't do that, so another learning that I think all of us went through is we have. I think all of us already knew, but we have very strongly started realizing that I cannot grow my business 10x unless I grow 10x. I am the
mhm,
bottleneck of my business. So
yeah,
the bigger the person I can become, the more broadly I can think, the more I can outsmart, outluck, the more my business will grow. Otherwise, I'm going to stop it from growing. So करना ही पड़ेगा. There's no choice. You have to grow as a person, and I think AI is going to accelerate that. क्योंकि वो क्या है, पीछे आग लगी है एकदम जमीन. The floor is lava now, so you have to really
yeah,
learn to jump.
yeah. Have you heard of Dunning-Kruger effect?
Of course, yeah. Everybody thinks they're smarter than they are, or dumber than they are, but nobody assesses themselves correctly. क्योंकि it's very difficult to look inwards.
Yeah. So the thing is, dumber people have a lot of conviction,
Yeah.
and then yeah, it really really gets difficult to, the self-awareness, because again, that's very, yeah, it doesn't work out really easily. I
That's
mean,
true.
again, for somebody to understand that they are not outsmarting, they're shooting themselves in the foot. If you have to first convince them that they are shooting themselves in the foot. Yeah, sometimes people have a lot of conviction, but no foundation. And again, yeah, it could, yeah, it gets difficult. So that's why, I was like, outsmarting might not be very feasible many times. Yeah.
And
Anyways, good
it will get
debate.
worse with AI having the sycophancy bias, right? Because oh, हर चीज में wow, that's a great idea. You should
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
do that.
There are more and more echo chambers now.
Yeah, true. There's a lot of polarization, and it's nothing new. It was already there with all these algorithmic social media also, but now though it's going to be like an echo chamber of one. It's like a personalized, built for you kind of an echo chamber. So it's going to have very interesting and very dangerous effects on society overall.
Yeah,
Let's see how that plays out.
yeah. After the internet, I guess echo chambers have increased, and people are
Yeah,
more and more polarized. And also, the anonymity
yeah. Hmm.
helps you be more, yeah,
Yeah,
more
more extreme.
unkind with your opinions as well. So yeah, have I gotten you to agree that?
So one thing that I used to really love about debates, the whole format, we used to do a Asian
Uh,
parliamentary. And my favorite and most important part of that debate was after the debate is done, you cross over and shake hands. And till then, the debate isn't over. So you can't walk out of the
yeah,
room till you do that. It feels like a ceremony, it's, like a figurative thing or a ceremonial thing, or
yeah,
it feels like a
mechanic.
compliance checklist thing. But that is the most important part of the debate, crossing over and shaking hands, knowing that opinions have their own battlefield and they don't need to cross over to the.
Right. We were talking about outsmarting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was asking, have I gotten you to agree that outsmarting sometimes is not possible?
No, but that's true for everything, right? Outworking sometimes isn't possible. Outlucking sometimes isn't possible. But you still try. You grow. You fail. You learn from it. But
Right.
if you have a fixed mindset and you think, "Nahi, mera intelligence is X and I'm going to stay here and I'll never be able to learn to be smarter," then of course you will stay there. But if you have a growth mindset and you think, no, I'm going to make myself smarter by reading, by doing, by listening to long podcasts or whatever, however the method is,
Yeah.
you eventually start seeing things differently, learning from your experience. You synthesize from other people's experiences and you apply it. Fail a little, but that's how any machine works, right? Machine learning कैसे चलता है? Cost function बड़ा होगा पहले, फिर धीरे-धीरे छोटा होता जाएगा. मतलब you will learn over time and iterations.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Anyways, we could expand on this, but yeah, let's
Mm.
cut it short. Any specific insights that you have from the startup? I mean, you gave a general overview of what you learned from the startup experience. Any specific insights? So one was that you become more mature with on dealing with people. Anything else that might be useful for students and not even students, just people in general?
Yeah, I think
Again,
the most
non-borrowable subjective
important.
experiences.
Yeah, I think the most important thing will be to understand that if you score high in an exam, that doesn't help you in real life unless you actually know what you've done. So if you're going to, let's say, cheat or cram or do any of those tricks to kind of just get through an examination, it's not going to help you in real life. If you just do those to get through an interview, that's probably the worst thing. So shooting yourself in the foot, right? One of the ways in which people do that time and again is they come to an interview, they try to game it, they cheat on the aptitude test, whatever, and they get into companies that are not for them. They if they
Yeah,
were for them, they
right.
would have gone through the recruitment process and naturally been selected. But they forced the selection by gaming the system. And then they realize stuck here, I don't know what to do now. And my manager knows that I don't know anything because the manager isn't blind or completely out of their wits. It's
Yeah,
very easy to tell
right.
if you cheated your way into the system. That really hurts. So entrepreneurs realize that your qualifications don't matter as much as your ability to do things. So you would see a lot of entrepreneurs from any XYZ background being put into a different role because an entrepreneur has to take up whatever role is necessary for the business, not what they have studied.
Yeah, right.
So I think that's one quick realization that people at like students should have, that you are who you are. If you try to game your photograph. And these interviews and these things are photographs. One bad photograph doesn't make you ugly, but by using Photoshop on it and trying to make yourself look better than you are is not going to help either, because I am going to see you ultimately.
Yeah, right.
सिर्फ फोटो पे शादी नहीं होती है, तो there's no point of doing that. It's going to actively hurt you to do that. Work on yourself, not on your photograph.
Yeah, right. I guess, yeah, one more thing I could extrapolate was ki adaptability is very important. Yeah, as an entrepreneur, you have to do everything. You just, I mean, yeah. One thing, I heard from an alumni, I don't know if it is you or somebody, but it was like ki DAICT teaches you learn there how to learn
Yeah,
anything. Yeah, that's a very important skill.
yeah.
They said. I mean, it is, I agree, but not to take away the credit. Yeah,
Hey, absolutely.
the the prefix to the startup question was that systems thinking. Yeah, I guess that got lost.
So we do a lot of design thinking at the company. We're supported by design thinking. We come to DA, and DA has been kind enough to curate a special course for us quite a few times as well. So we do design thinking trainings here as well for the
Could you
for the larger
elaborate what is
startups.
design thinking?
Yeah. So design thinking is a way of thinking about problem, typically wicked problems which don't have a simple answer, or a step by step kind of a do this and this will happen kind of an answer. And
Yeah.
it puts the human in the center. So it's a human centric way of thinking. You put a user or a human in the center and then try to build solutions for them based on anything available to you, which might not be like a traditional way of solving it. So it has a lot of techniques that how would a designer design a product, or how would a designer, or how would you solve somebody's problem if you look at the human as the central piece of it. And an example of that
Mm-hmm.
is, there's a very famous case study where women had less iodine. That was a big
Yeah.
problem. So we all know patriarchy कैसे play out करता है, right? So lack of nutrition was a big problem. So iodine कैसे दे? Iodine की दवाई देते थे तो लेते नहीं थे, because ये so क्या है ये दवाई. So what they started doing was they started putting iodine patches in bindis. So you took an existing user behavior and then
Hmm.
tried to sort of utilize that as a platform to launch whatever you had to. So this is an example of how design thinking manifests. Just this is how we solve a problem. So maybe there's a software problem that can be solved by talking to a user rather than
Hmm.
actually improving the software. So you put the human at the center and then think of these problems. So that's one way of thinking. Systems thinking, especially when combined with this, is very powerful, because system thinking says ki every problem is a manifest, is a whole, right? So there is something that you change in one part of the system will have an effect in some other part of it. So for example,
Mm-hmm.
if you change your hiring process, your customer support might change because your hiring process
Yeah.
has changed. So there is a
Right.
linkage between the entire system, and one tweak here will have a corresponding effect somewhere else. So you look at it as a whole rather than looking at it just as a problem of one department or problem of one person. So that's systems thinking. And idea. So especially in my kind of line of work, both of these are really important, because if I'm not doing systems thinking, if I'm doing isolated problem solving for HR without thinking of how it affects finance, how it affects supply chain, it's not going to really give me business outcomes at the end of the day, because I will fix something here which breaks something somewhere else. So I actually have to look
Yeah.
at it as a whole. Otherwise, there's no point. So yeah, we believe in both these kinds of thinking simultaneously. Yeah.
Right. So you elaborated a lot on design thinking, systems thinking. I didn't
So
really get.
systems thinking is a way of looking at complex systems as a whole. Essentially, you are looking at a problem in terms of the system it inhabits, right? So,
Yeah.
for
Right.
instance, if India has a diabetes problem, so is it just a problem of sugar, or a health problem, let's say chronic health problem, or an infant mortality problem? Is that just a problem of just children dying? Should we just focus on that? Or is it a larger problem of ecology, economics? Is it because we don't get nutrition? Why do we don't get nutrition? Is it because the per capita income is low? Is it because the air is unbreathable? Why
Yeah.
is the air unbreathable? Everything is part of a larger system, right? So
Yeah. Also,
even
education
benefits
could
that
be
you
a factor.
provide, they go through a larger system to reach the person. So then you look at it in terms of the whole, that okay, this is the reason my energy is low. Why is my energy low? Okay, maybe I'm not sleeping properly. Why am I not sleeping? So I am a human being. Why I'm saying you can combine these is, you have to look at the problem in terms of its ecosystem and the overall idea, and the position and the system it is part of. So and
Right.
just say, I don't want to take brand names because I don't want to be sued by American oil companies. But there are a lot of examples of there where the system failed. If you look up oil companies in the US, where some went bankrupt, etc., there were ethics violations and those kind of things also happened. That was because of the whole system failure, not because of an individual's problem. It was designed in a way that it made that kind of a failure inevitable.
Yeah, right. What I understand from systems thinking or thinking in systems is like you create systems for thinking so that you always have to like look at, so it strips you off all the of the biases and you like have to look at it raw in a way. And yeah,
नहीं
it
नहीं नहीं
kind
so
of
don't
yeah,
नहीं don't think of it in terms of the word system as in a, so I think you're thinking of systems as we computer science people think of systems. It is a system as in a
yeah,
collection of components that work together. Just a solar
yeah,
system, it is closer to that idea than a computer system. So solar
yeah,
system
yeah,
कैसे
I
देखते हो?
get it.
So it is just a way of looking at the whole system rather than looking at just Pluto or just Earth. So Earth ka rotation you cannot understand unless you understand sun ka pull of gravity on it. uh,
Yeah, right.
so it's sort of like
Oh,
that.
yeah, yeah, I get your paradigm. I told you now, I'm a great fan of clear thinking, that's Shane Parrish. So yeah, he talks a lot about thinking, creating
Systems thinking.
systems for thinking such that creating guardrails so that you don't fall for your own traps because when you're falling for it, you would never know. So you
Correct.
create a system that kind of tries to avoid that.
So that is thinking in systems, right? So think
Yeah,
sorry, that is
thinking in
thinking
systems.
systems.
Yeah,
That is a core to consulting. So it's called thinking frameworks. So what are
yeah,
those frameworks? So those would be things that help you. Just a MISI is a very famous one, right? So mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive. So is your
could you
data
elaborate?
MISI? So for example, if you're looking at options, you want to evaluate whether they're MISI, mutually exclusive. Matlab there's no
Uh,
overlap between those options, and collectively exhaustive. If we count all of those options, then your entire set of optionality is over. So these are all the options we could think of, for example, and they're
just a
not
second, just a
overlapping each other.
clarification. Options is not as in stock market, right?
नहीं नहीं
Okay, options as in the decisions I have to take. Yeah, okay. Yeah, go on.
So this covers your entire gamut of what you could think of. So this framework of thinking helps you quickly think through or synthesize a lot of information. जैसे
Yeah,
one thing that I continuously use is or is 5WH. So what, why, when, where, how, पूरा या फिर 5 why बोलते हैं, right? 5 why is a thing that my CEO uses a lot. So you tell him something, he'll say why, and he'll ask it 5 times. So you get to the root cause of something. So these are all
yeah,
systems in
right.
which you can, or frameworks
Think.
which you can use for thinking through things. So जैसे email writing का भी framework है, you think in terms of a Minto pyramid. Minto pyramid क्या बोलता है कि पहले you give the conclusion, then a little bit of explanation, then the evidence of it. So you simplify reading for the other person. So these are all frameworks of thinking so that you can synthesize things quickly.
Yeah, this could also apply to speaking as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yes.
yeah. You tell what
So
you want to
speaking
do,
maybe
then
when you're presenting, there's a framework I think McKinsey uses, which is called SCQA or something. The situation, I forgot the exact framework, but essentially it talks about what the problem is, what is it causing, how do we solve, like what is the proposal to solve it, something like that. So for example, I told you, right, the thing we use at Orbit, we say, is it desirable, is it feasible, is it viable? That's a quick way to synthesize a lot of information and put it through a framework so that I can quickly decide whether I want to invest in it further or not.
yeah. Essentially heuristics to
Yeah, heuristics to think through things.
yeah, right. How Shane Parrish expands this is he takes this also into real life. So it's like I know that I'm going to watch reels. So what I will do is I'll create. I mean, this sounds very intuitive, but we at least I don't tend to apply it very frequently. Is that okay? I know I'm going to watch reels, so I'll create a rule that I'll only watch reels from like let's say 3 to 4,
Yeah.
or I'll create
Or
a
after
time limit.
lunch or something like that. Yeah.
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 Yeah, same with yeah everything. So I have a lot of sweet cravings as well. So only eating on Thursdays or Sundays or Wednesdays, something like that. So creating guardrails. So this is a very superficial level. When you go a level deeper, it comes into ki whenever you are doing something, ask why. When you are saying yes to an event, it's like it should be hell yes or no.
Correct.
So yeah, those framework, when you go a level deeper into secondary or tertiary levels, that really help you understand that. That was fascinating for me personally. I guess you, as a consultant for such a, I would say, long experience in the industry, you would be very used to these things, I guess.
Yeah. So consulting mein, like one of your jobs is these, like just knowing these frameworks, they really help you quickly structure information either to synthesize or to present.
Yeah. So, yeah, when I think of somebody doing a startup in the industry that they're working in, what I can imagine is ki there must be something that is very critical and it is very lacking in the current frameworks or in the current industry or the current products that is being offered. And like that's why I can imagine that a person would,
Yeah.
think of starting his own company on that USP,
Yeah.
or yeah, for everybody, unique selling point or the unique thing that the company has that nobody has, supposedly. Yeah, so what was that in your case that it made you leave your current consulting job and thought it has enough potential to grow into something that is worthwhile?
So what was the gap we identified essentially?
Yeah.
So for us, I think it was just knowing that there is no way to. Number one, so there are two, three things. First one is that what happens is in our industry, it is typical that a lot of investment is made up until the point of the system going live. So as I said, you buy the system from Oracle, then a vendor comes in and implements it. And that takes 8 months, 9 months, 1 year, whatever it takes, right? वो system set
Yeah,
up होने में.
right. Yeah.
Now, वो system set up होता है उसको when it is live, it's called going live, right? When the production is turned on, essentially. Till that point, there's a lot of sponsorship, there's a lot of leadership, a lot of leaders who are sponsoring the project. There is a lot of, hue and cry about it being proper. As soon as that is done and you start supporting the system, that's when all that starts dwindling. So people start moving on to other projects and stuff like that. Your best consultants are rolled off. You are putting support consultants there who might not be as close to the project early on. So what essentially happens is you move from a very high energy, high attention, high cost model to a lower energy, lower attention, lower cost model. And
Yeah.
that's a little backwards because your value starts, it's like going to a car dealership and with all, entire family with a whole barat, buying the car, and when driving the car, nobody's there. You're just sitting in a garage. But the value
Right.
of the car is not in purchasing the car. The value of the car is in actually driving the car. That's when you realize, okay, this car has this problem, that problem. Maybe I need to get this done. Maybe I want this
Yeah.
customization. So it starts
Right.
after. But that journey is not well supported. Number one. Second is people. So there is no demonstration of value that, okay, you bought something for X. Is it doing X? Or if not, I think that is still a gap because, as I said, most of the best minds of the industry are busy selling the car, like, or getting you through your first drive, right? Which is the go live phase. Nobody's sitting with you after you have bought the car, just chilling, and seeing how you do. Are there any things you need to learn yet? Are there modifications in the car that they need? That's not there. So I think that was the main insight that we exclusively work with customers, or we typically work with customers who are live for at least 6 months. So that's when they know,
Mm-hmm.
acha, isme ye problem hai. This is something that's not working. This is something that needs improvement. And we use a lot of by that time you have a lot of data as well, right? A new car, you don't know कि कहाँ क्या आवाज आ रही है. ये मैंने यूज करोगे तब
Yeah.
समझ आएगा कि कहाँ क्या आवाज आ रही है. So that's what we specialize in. We specialize in value maximization using very small tweaks in your existing system, so existing car. But we focus post go live. We don't focus before.
Yeah, it's I guess it should be very obvious. I don't know.
हाँ, it is. हमको भी यही
Yeah, I
लगा
mean.
है. मतलब हम लोग काफी बार सोच, as I said, हम लोग का फोकस आउटकम पे. You bought an ERP
Mm-hmm.
system to help you do something. You didn't buy an ERP system so that you can fill forms online. So
Yeah,
our
I mean,
focus is on outcome. कि तुम इससे क्या करना चाहते हो, ये छोड़ो, उससे करोगे क्या. And
yeah,
to us also, it was very obvious. So we have gone through a phase where we're like, are we sure this is something useful? Like, isn't this like
yeah,
obvious? And then we are like, no, it's not that obvious apparently. Not many people are doing it. Everybody says they do it, but nobody actually has a way to prove that, okay, this is why you bought this particular module and this is what it is delivering. That is completely disconnected. We have built proprietary tools that help prove that your system is giving you the value that it promised you. But I don't think it's there across the industry at all. In fact, I think there's a lot of perverse incentive in trying to hide that also. So yeah, I don't want to get into that, but yeah, there's a lot of incentive in just selling the car and moving on to the next one before the tire bursts.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, the real test of the product is
Is
6 months
later.
after. Yeah, I mean, few months
Yeah,
after you use it. Yeah,
correct.
that's where the utility comes into, I guess, account. It becomes accountable.
Yeah,
But anyways, I guess at least to the C-suite, it should be apparent. But anyways,
yeah.
it is it. Interesting. Yeah. So as a startup co-founder, it is a lot of work, right? As you said, 22 hours a day.
Well,
So
not me.
what?
I don't do that much work, but I'm lucky that I have 8 co-founders. Every startup co-founder, stays up at night. Like generally कोई भी startup founder होगा तो 8 घंटे मेरे 8 लोग
Yeah.
हैं. Every one of us takes 1 hour of sleeplessness. 7 hours we sleep very easily because we divide our sleeplessness amongst the 8 of us. So it's that way very easy for us because we have so much cushion. So yeah, I
Cool.
don't work that much, but I've seen other founders who are alone, solopreneurs work that much.
Yeah, I mean, so how do you get the drive to stay motivated? I mean, after some time, everything gets mechanical, right? It,
Yeah,
it becomes not interesting. So,
yeah.
yeah, what drives you?
So sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's like a normal thing only, right? If you'll be unmotivated in your job, sometimes you'll be unmotivated in your company in your entrepreneurship also. Primarily, what drives you is you're working on a problem that really does affect a lot of people. If not outside, at least inside the company, and like at least in my case, I have some control over the kind of problems I want to pick. So I pick problems which I think are worth solving. And if I think that something is really, really, soul sucking, doesn't like there's a piece of the job that must be done, but I feel like I really don't like doing it, or I'm not the right person to do, because if I don't like doing it, I'm probably not the right person to do it also.
Yeah,
So
right.
I have some flexibility of finding who else would like doing it
Mm-hmm.
as an entrepreneur, which I would not have as an employee. So because some people would really enjoy doing the thing that you don't like doing at all. That's why there is diversity in humankind. And you should try to sort of optimize your allocation of people to the kind of job that they thrive in. So we
Right.
do that with ourselves also. We try to allocate ourselves to where we think we have the highest chance of outlucking, outdoing, outsmarting. And that happens if you enjoy it. I can outwork you if I enjoy working, because then it's not a job. It's something that I'm doing
Yeah.
as an enjoyable activity. You will never be able to outwork me in something that I really enjoy doing. Nobody can. It's impossible. It's mathematically impossible to outwork somebody in something they actually enjoy.
Yeah, because it's not work then, it's fun.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can have fun for as long as you
Yeah.
don't have to sleep.
Yeah. But every job will have like 20-30% stuff that you absolutely hate doing, and you just have to live with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the critical difference between a job and an founder, what I see is that there is no short-term gratification as such. In jobs, it's a very short-term gratification. There are very short feedback loops in place to ensure that you are working. But as an entrepreneur, it's all on you, right? Nobody is like, you have to do this today, you have to do this today. So I guess it gets very difficult to keep yourself motivated because
Yeah.
things are very long term. So in that way, I was asking, yeah, I mean, obviously everything has some parts which are soul sucking, but for the most part, you could take a day off anytime you want. Suppose, I don't know.
Dependent. I think it has less to do with entrepreneur and employee, but more to do with if you're in a customer facing role, even as an entrepreneur, you will not be able to do that.
Yeah,
You will have to be always on. Uh,
yeah,
but I think I get your question. So I think uska
yeah,
the simple answer I think is when you decided to become an entrepreneur, you understood the commitment you're doing. So you know that you are going to burn the next 10 years of your life on this at least. And so then the reward is also bigger, right? If I burn 10
yeah,
years and if I actually succeed, the upside is very high. The downside, unless I'm leveraged. So that I think that would also be a difference. Like there are companies that are bootstrapped. So we've put in our own money. Like we don't have any investors. We keep getting offers of investment, but we don't take any external investment. And then there are companies that are VC funded, or, they are leveraged in a way. They have debt or something like that. I think for them, it will be a different cycle because their downside is also lower than zero. Our downside is zero.
yeah,
Like worst case scenario, we will end up with zero. It will
yeah,
not go negative. upside is good. So that way, I think it's from that incentivization there's there. Other than that, I think I really enjoy building teams, teaching stuff, and I'm getting to do that here as well. So for me, motivation is more short term. Like, do I really enjoy this Monday? Am I talking to people I like? Which is why I'm very, very fanatic about who I hire. I don't want people, maybe they are even super competent, but they just bring the whole vibe down. I don't want those people because I have to live with them for the next 10, 12, 20 years. And I really
Yeah,
want
right.
people I enjoy working with, which means they have to
Yeah.
be trustworthy, competent, and, you know, not a downer, in a
Yeah.
sense.
Again, I guess hell yes or no.
Yes or no? Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, good heuristic, was I going to say. But yeah, anyways, good one. Yeah, yeah, one more thing. So the interesting thing on your LinkedIn, I saw there was a 1 month career break,
Yeah.
which was written mostly sleep.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
would you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So I had quit my old job. I was deciding between, joining a new company. So I had a few offers. I was also thinking of doing an MBA at that time. And just nascently, I had like started talks to, join Obrick as well. But that was not like formalized or anything like this. Still, at that point, I was just deciding what I want to do. And I had given my phone to my wife and blocked off everyone and just not talking to anybody there. And I read a lot and I slept a lot. And I think that's something that everybody should do. Like, they should just not do. It's really, really, at least the way my brain works, I work best when I don't do anything. I will come up with really good ideas. I'll come up with really good initiatives. Like, I will make prototypes when I'm not supposed to do anything. So I try to give myself as much time as possible where I'm not doing anything because it's really, really helpful for everybody around me if I don't do anything.
I guess this topic needs more emphasis in the day and age of reels and shorts. I guess you should.
Yeah,
Yeah, can you go over it once again as in detail?
sure. Sure.
Yeah,
So,
for students are, yeah, bore ho rahe hain, that's a big issue. I was like, bro, bore ho raha hai means you cannot sit with yourself.
yeah. And you can't blame them. This is a system problem.
I mean, not
You've
blaming them,
created
but
so
yeah,
many. No, no, I know. Not you as in you, but in general, they can't be blamed because they have the you've create we have now created a system which does not let you be bored. So everything has everything. Like, if you open YouTube now, there are games in it. Like, if you're bored of the videos, you start playing games in the same app because retention
yeah,
is everything for them, right? So in order to retain
yeah,
your attention, they will do whatever it takes. That's their job.
yeah,
But so while on one side, your attention grabbing mechanisms have evolved like crazy, on the other
uh,
side, your ability to fight that is still caveman, right? You're still living in the, evolutionarily speaking, the evolution of
hunter gatherer
the
age.
attack side is so much faster than your defense side.
Yeah,
So it's very difficult to do that. But you're right. So being bored is one of the unique human superpowers that you just don't do anything. And again, what you choose to extinguish your boredom with. Is it reels? Is it books? Is it, sketching, doodling? Is it poetry? Whatever it is, there are a lot of pursuits in the world. I think most of those pursuits have started sort of receding because you have this reel funda.
yeah,
एक और चीज मुझे जो लगती है, maybe you weaponize that. मतलब maybe you don't need to go away from reels. Maybe you need to create a different account or a different profile where you force the algorithm to learn really, really good educational stuff that comes to reels. Like, there are a lot of interesting
yeah,
educators. There are a lot of science communicators. Vsauce इतने सालों से है millennials ज़माने का. So Vsauce was a really good YouTube channel on science and explaining science and stuff like
yeah,
that.
Vsauce, yeah, yeah,
Follow those. Just have a profile that just follows those. So you'll be edutained at least. So then when you use your YouTube, it's still a little productive because you're targeting, code interviews. There are so many good YouTubers who talk about system architecture,
yeah,
DSA,
right, yeah,
and they're entertaining also. So just
yeah,
just follow them. Don't let because the algorithm's learning from you, right? So you have to take some blame there, that you have taught it to show you mindless videos. You have taught it to show
yeah,
you, TikTok dances. You can teach it something else. Teach it to show you really interesting valuable stuff. And then you can do as many reels as you like because it's still going to give you a lot of good value.
Yeah.
That's one way to
Right.
look at it. But yeah, that's what I did in the 1 month. So I just kept my phone out. I haven't touched my phone in that period. So I just sit and I do this every year. So every year I take a reading break, uh, where I don't do a lot of communication with the outside world. I lock myself and I read books.
Great. I guess that some Bill Gates, I guess, does that. Bill Gates or somebody.
I have a friend from my batch who used to lock himself in a room, throw the key out his window. He used to live in the E wing of DICT, DAU, and he used to lock himself from the inside, throw the key out, call me saying, "Hey, pick the key up. I've just thrown it out, and tomorrow you unlock me, and don't forget." And he would just code.
What about food and water?
Yeah, he used to. So he used to take like 10 bottles. He's a genius, but yeah, he's hardcore. He's a little too hardcore. But he used to take like 10 packets of chips and 3 bottles of Coke. Very, very bad choice, by the way. If somebody's hearing this, do not follow him. If you want to do this, bring sauteed vegetables and fruit juice or something like that. But yeah, he used to just bring all sorts of junk and he would sit on the terminal. His phone would be powered off, like no battery. Last message he would make, like he would, send me one message, basically putting his life in my palm for no reason. I have very irresponsible palms, but he would do that, throw the key out and say, yeah, open it when I'm done. Like throw it back to me when
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah. No, actually, this is a good extreme way.
Yeah, he used to sleep without mattresses, so that he used to sleep without a mattress so that he would like the prospect of waking up more than the prospect of sleeping. And he used to wake up at 4 a.m.
Crazy.
Well,
Actually crazy.
genius always looks crazy.
Even I do the same thing. So I have like four YouTube accounts, separate. One for coding, one is for self-help
Yeah, that
content, one is
helps.
for
Yeah.
study anything academic. Yeah, another is for my hobby. So yeah, everywhere's feed is different. Just yeah, if I want to do this, it's focused on this. Even my
Yeah.
reels feed is like that. It's just one of my hobbies, and it's just that in my Instagram. Yeah, but again, that does not take out the importance of sitting
Of
with
course not.
yourself, right? There's a lot of, I would let emotional processing that goes on when you sit as well. Yeah, you kind of reiterate, you again go through events that have happened. Yeah, a lot of self-reflection takes place. So I guess that is still inevitable, even if you
Yeah. And
customize your feed.
that's why sleep is important.
Not inevitable, but
Crucial. Yeah. A lot of
crucial.
people
Yeah.
sacrifice sleep and for like watch reels. I'm also guilty of that, but that's very dangerous. Like sleeping, drinking enough water. These are like basic things which you realize when you're in your 30s that, oh, damn, I should have done that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you
Yeah.
should try
Yeah.
Vipassana, I guess.
My CEO
Vipassana,
does
have you
that.
heard of it?
So he's a chief monk as well. Very calm guy. He does
Okay.
that. Every year goes to Coimbatore or somewhere and does it. Yeah.
Oh, that
So
must not
somewhere
be
he goes. I don't
Vipassana
know.
then.
But he does, no, he does definitely does Vipassana also. नहीं
Vipassana
वो
is
तो
here
हर
only.
जगह है ना यार वो तो हर एक
Okay.
स्टेट में
हाँ, Vipassana यहीं पे है नहीं, नजदीक में ही है. So it's आप like कोयम्बटूर में जाना है. कोयम्बटूर में सदगुरु का ईशा योग सेंटर है. Yeah, that is different. That is not Vipassana. Vipassana is a different chain
different
of
brand different brand of
whatever. Yeah, I mean Vipassana is similar to what you said. So they don't allow you to take
yeah I
anything,
know so I do have people who have
no
done Vipassana I know
technology, no phone. Yeah.
they don't allow you to do anything take anything and सुबह 4 बजे उठे मैंने उतना सुन के मैं भाग गया था बस मैं बोला नहीं करना है ऐसा
Yeah.
चीजें मेरे पास मत लाए
I mean, and also you
माय
have to stay
गॉड आई एम
silent
नॉट
for the
डूइंग दैट एवर
whole of 10
वह
days.
हो ही
You
नहीं
cannot
सकता है
speak.
जो चीज हो ही नहीं
It's just you and yeah, you basically because you cannot take pen paper for taking notes as well. They don't allow anything. No contact with the outside world. You just be there. Yeah, just observe yourself. Yeah, I was planning to do that last year, and they were like the minimum age is 20. I was like, okay. Anyways, let's yeah. So uh, could you go on? What is it? This book
so
about?
like you said, we saw a gap, right? We saw a gap that there's no, like the value you should be getting, you're not getting. And the problem with you not getting value for us is an ethical one because it means that you're spending more time, more money that should actually go into fueling your mission. because back office is a support software. It's not your core software. It's not your, as I said, if you're a healthcare chain, your patient software is more important, right? Your health information system, right? That's more important for you. So why are you spending time here? Why are your people putting energy and cash and everything on the back office, taking away dollars that should go to patients, for instance, or can go to patients? You just don't know that they can, because you don't know that there is value hidden in your system. So tiny transformation talks about how you can make very, very small tweaks, and it's broadly applicable outside of ERP as well. But it has some chapters which are dedicated to like finding out how do you calculate if there's hidden value in your system, how do you improve those processes, etc. But most of the book is about just identifying small changes that have an outsized impact. So, for example, what can have an outsized impact on your health, right?
Yeah.
Having a lot of water, like not too much that you get water poisoning, but you get, if you drink enough, not keeping your body dehydrated, it's a very small
Yeah.
action, has an outsized impact. Doing 5 minutes of cardio has an outsized impact. Smaller things that you can do which don't cost much
King.
but will drastically change. That's why it's tiny
Yeah.
transformation. And it starts with the story of a lot of companies that have gone, like, done those tiny transformations to reinvent themselves, for example. For instance, Toyota used to be a silk producer, right? But now it produces cars because they had the loop, the hand loop. So the basic mechanics of gears is how they pivoted. So those are
Yeah.
tiny things that change. It completely changes the outcome that you get.
Right.
And it's a handbook. So we've basically built in public.
Who is
So
the third
the
author?
entire framework we have is there in that book. Anybody wants to steal from us, we want them to go ahead so that more people can do more savings and we achieve our mission of save our vision of saving 1 billion life hours.
So you are the author, and your wife
Co-author
Divyashree
on.
ma'am
Yeah.
was also at the RC event. Yeah,
So he's
co-author.
the CEO.
Who is the
So
third
Nimesh
author?
Shah is our CEO. The monk, yes.
Yeah, one. So any final advice for students? Anything like, yeah,
Oh,
anything in
60
60
seconds.
seconds that you would, not
Yeah.
60 seconds, but I mean, you get the idea, right?
So I would say, in any case, AI is coming for all of us.
Take your time.
You and me. So
Yeah.
the only way it cannot replace you is by making you, what I would say, whole, right? So live full lives. So what does
Yeah.
that mean? That means you do all the clubs you can get your hands into. You do all the courses that you actually enjoy. Take the right electives. Don't cheat on it. Actually do the work. It will reward you in the long term. Just look at the big picture, embrace it, and try to live a fuller
Yeah.
life than you currently do. If you're already having a very full life, try to make it fuller still. But do more things. I think you will never get this time back. Everything is downhill from college, by the way, just so everyone knows. Everything is downhill. So while you're on the top of the hill, try to make the hill bigger. Just keep going as up as you can. And that's it. I think just do more. You'll do more things that bring you joy as you can. Yeah. But while
Make your life
balancing
as
your
colorful as
today
you
and tomorrow.
can be.
So if a lot of substance abuse brings you joy, don't do that.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow is also a problem. So you have to outdo and outlast, not just outdo or outlast.
Yeah, right. Okay. Thank you, Niyam sir. It was great to have you on the podcast. You are really articulate, and it was nice to have an insightful conversation with you. I guess all of our
Thank you.
viewers will love to
Thanks for
listen
having me.
to what we have discussed.